Swish! Jian Wushuang's figure had disappeared into thin air. In its place was a strange silver stream of light, followed by a sword light. It was incredibly fast. When the sword light lit up, the black-clothed woman's eyes shrank, and a trace of horror flashed across her face. The sword was so fast that the black-clothed woman did not react at all. Chi! The sword light flashed and the black-clothed woman's head flew away. In just one move, the black-clothed woman among the 3 gatekeepers had been killed. Humph! With an angry snort, the stocky elder had already arrived in front of Jian Wushuang. He held a big hammer in each of his hands and his body was covered with a large number of black thunderbolts. It was as if the thunder god had come to the world, and he suddenly attacked Jian Wushuang. Good timing. Jian Wushuang smiled indifferently and threw out his sword with his right hand. At the moment he threw out his sword, a shocking sword essence suddenly burst out. Space-time sword art. Xianxia. Bang! A low collision sound was heard. The stocky elder's body suddenly trembled and he immediately retreated in a sorry state. Before Jian Wushuang's comprehension of space-time principles had reached a breakthrough, he had used all of his strength to use Xianxia to clash with the stocky elder. He had barely gained the upper hand. But now, his comprehension of space-time principles had reached the 3rd stage. The power of Jian Wushuang's Xianxia move had increased by 3 times. When the two fought again, it was naturally a crushing blow. Die! Jian Wushuang's body flashed and he attacked the last white-robed woman. The white-robed woman used her soul attack and controlled the strange spears to flash toward Jian Wushuang one after another. However, Jian Wushuang easily dodged them. Then, the sword light flashed past the white-robed woman and she was killed. In just a moment, 2 of the 3 gatekeepers were killed, and the burly elder was completely crushed. The result was naturally out. Boy! Congratulations on reaching the top of D Mountain. The burly elder stood aside and watched Jian Wushuang. The divine bodies of the black-robed woman and the white-robed woman, who had been killed by Jian Wushuang, were restored. They looked at Jian Wushuang with a strange look in their eyes. Thank you. Jian Wushuang smiled indifferently. At this moment, a figure condensed on the top of D Mountain. It was Elder Gu who had been watching the battle from the side. Congratulations, little guy. Elder Gu looked at Jian Wushuang with a hint of joy on his face as he said, It has been a long time since Master left this secret realm. Now, someone can finally pass the test left by Master. Little guy, come with me. Elder Gu waved his hand, and a space passage appeared in the void around D Mountain. Elder Gu led Jian Wushuang directly into the space passage. They were still in the secret realm, but it was still the core and the most important area of the secret realm. They were still in a palace, but the palace was 30,000 feet tall and vast. As soon as Jian Wushuang stepped into the palace, he looked through the void and saw a figure sitting on a lofty throne at the end of the palace. It was a slender, 3-meter-tall, handsome young man. The young man's skin was fair, tender, and even better than many beautiful women. He wore a snow-white velvet coat with golden edges, and his long brown hair fell to his shoulders. He looked lazy, but he had a pair of deep eyes that seemed to contain billions of stars. Above those deep eyes were 2 sword-shaped eyebrows. These 2 sword-shaped eyebrows were like 2 peerless divine swords in a scabbard. As long as they were slightly bunched up, a terrifying sword essence would burst out. The young man sat on the throne lazily. There was no aura emanating from his body, making him look extremely ordinary. However, even though the young man was sitting at the end of the palace, he was still far away from Jian Wushuang. The young man did not even raise his head to look at him. He just sat there. It still made Jian Wushuang feel a trace of respect. Yes, it was respect. It was an instinctive respect for experts. Little guy, come with me to see Master, Elder Gu said. Master? Is that the Master of the secret realm? Jian Wushuang was quite excited. He followed Elder Gu and slowly walked toward the palace. After a while, they finally arrived at the center of the palace and in front of the towering throne. As they walked here, the reverence in Jian Wushuang's heart grew stronger and stronger. Master, Elder Gu said, His voice was gentle, but it was absolutely respectful. On the towering throne, the 3-meter-tall handsome man moved slightly. Then he slowly raised his eyelids. His pitch-black, emotionless eyes looked directly at Elder Gu and Jian Wushuang. The moment Jian Wushuang sensed the handsome man's eyes, his heart turned cold, as if he had completely fallen into an ice cellar. Fortunately, Jian Wushuang had lived for 2 lifetimes and had experienced many storms. In his last life, he had even seen countless top experts. Although those experts were restricted by Gevin and Earth and could not unleash their true strength and power, however, Jian Wushuang had seen some incredible methods. Therefore, although Jian Wushuang was full of awe in front of this handsome man, he did not lose his composure too much. Heavenly Sword Marquis. Greetings, Senior, Jian Wushuang said respectfully. He could see that the handsome man in front of him had died a long time ago, leaving behind only a consciousness incarnation. Heavenly Sword Marquis? An ancient and deep voice slowly came out of the handsome man's mouth. Did you pass the D mountain test that I left behind? Yes. Jian Wushuang nodded. Master, this little guy is extremely talented and has an extraordinary background, Elder Gu said. I know. The handsome man nodded. He had created the secret realm himself. Although Elder Gu was in charge of many things in the secret realm, as the master of the secret realm, he knew all the things that had happened in the secret realm. For example, when Jian Wushuang had tried to get the corpse puppet army, the handsome man had seen that his soul had been killed 6 or 7 times in order to survive the test. Once his soul is destroyed, he will definitely die. This is a common thing of the heavenly axiom, but this little guy completely goes against the common knowledge of the heavenly axiom. He is a special anomaly in the heaven and earth, and the heavenly axiom does not allow him to exist. The handsome man glanced at Jian Wushuang with a strange look in his eyes. In any case, since you have passed the D mountain test that I left behind, what I left in the secret realm will naturally belong to you. The handsome man's voice rang out slowly. In any case, since you have passed the D mountain test I left behind, what I left behind in this secret realm will naturally belong to you. Hearing the handsome man's words, Jian Wushuang was also delighted. This handsome man was a genuine principles master, and he was also a principles master who had opened a secret realm. As far as Jian Wushuang knew, principles masters were superior, but there were differences in strength. Most principles masters who were weaker could not open a secret realm of heaven and earth. Those who could open a secret realm of heaven and earth were definitely the best among principles masters. Moreover, on the way to the depths of the secret realm, he saw a lot of sarcophagi. In addition to many top-notch and invincible immortal saints, there were 2 principles master sarcophagi. The handsome man had also killed the 2 principles masters. To be able to kill principles masters and 2 principles masters at that, one could imagine the strength of the handsome man. Jian Wushuang was naturally eager to get the things left in the secret realm by such a super existence. Before you get what I left, you must remember my name. My name is Shui and I come from the Divine Ancestor Taoist sect, the bloodline of the Blood Ancestor. The handsome man's voice sounded again. Divine Ancestor Taoist sect? The bloodline of the Blood Ancestor. Jian Wushuang was stunned. He had never heard of the Divine Ancestor Taoist sect or the bloodline of the Blood Ancestor. He had only heard of the Blood Clan, which was one of the 4 great divine clans of the divine beginning world. However, the Blood Clan and the bloodline of the Blood Ancestor were clearly 2 different things. Seeing the confusion on Jian Wushuang's face, Shui asked, Heavenly Sword Marquis, you haven't left the Endless Territory, have you? Yes. Jian Wushuang nodded. He had been born in the Endless Territory. Although he was full of longing and yearning for the vast third heaven, he had never been there before because he was not strong enough. That's right. Born in the Endless Territory, you haven't really explored the third heaven, so your horizons are limited. It's normal that you haven't heard of the Divine Ancestor Taoist sect. Shui said, although you haven't heard of the Divine Ancestor Taoist sect, you can still come into contact with the Heaven-Cleaving Alliance with your strength. I know about the Heaven-Cleaving Alliance. I'm now a Heaven-level member of the Heaven-Cleaving Alliance, Jian Wushuang said. Heaven-level? Bei glanced at Jian Wushuang and nodded slightly. The Heaven-Cleaving Alliance is recognized as the most powerful freedom alliance in the divine beginning world. However, there are many powerful freedom alliances in the divine beginning world. There are 3 of them, and the Heaven-Cleaving Alliance is only one of them. 3 freedom alliances? Jian Wushuang's expression changed. The Heaven-Cleaving Alliance is only one of the 3 freedom alliances? Then the other 2 freedom alliances are... The remaining 2 freedom alliances are the Space-Time Temple and the Divine Ancestor Taoist sect, Bei said. Jian Wushuang was stunned. He knew about the Heaven-Cleaving Alliance and the 3 freedom alliances. He also knew about the Space-Time Temple, and it must be related. After all, the 2 space-time divine skills he had obtained from the Golden Stone came from the Space-Time Temple. According to the information in the Golden Stone, he had already entered the Space-Time Gate, so he was a member of the Space-Time Temple. The Space-Time Temple is one of the 3 strongest freedom alliances in the divine beginning world? Jian Wushuang was a little shocked. He had guessed that the Space-Time Temple must be extremely powerful and that the Temple Master who created it must be unfathomable. Now it seemed that it was true. One of the 3 freedom alliances in the divine beginning world was on par with the Heaven-Cleaving Alliance. Although the Heaven-Cleaving Alliance was ranked first and recognized as the strongest, the fact that the Space-Time Temple was on par with it was enough to show how terrifying the Space-Time Temple was. This was the case for the Temporal Temple as well as for the Divine Ancestor Taoist sect. Of the 3 great freedom alliances, the Heaven-Cleaving Alliance is the strongest and has the largest number of branches. It is not an exaggeration to say that it has spread to every corner of the divine beginning world. However, the Temporal Temple is different from the Divine Ancestor Taoist sect. The Temporal Temple is the most mysterious and its methods are also very impressive. Most of the powerful warriors within the temple have comprehended the principles of time and space. And these powerful warriors who are proficient in the principles of time and space have used their most powerful methods to create a special patch of time and space, making it difficult for others to find them. Especially the mysterious Temple Master of the Space-Time Temple. His comprehension of the principles of space-time is widely recognized as the number 1 person in the divine beginning world. His ability to use space-time is unparalleled, and he is definitely one of the best among the countless cultivators in the entire divine beginning world. Hearing this, Jian Wushuang was shocked, but he was not surprised. The Temple Master of the Space-Time Temple had created the space-time divine skill himself. Jian Wushuang had already experienced how powerful the space-time divine skill was. Finally, it's the Divine Ancestor Taoist sect. The Divine Ancestor Taoist sect is not as extensive. Most of its power is concentrated in the 3rd heaven. Although the Divine Ancestor is the leader of the Divine Ancestor Taoist sect, it has many factions under its command. My Blood Ancestor faction is one of them, Bei said. Senior, with your strength, you should be at the top of the Blood Ancestor faction, right? Jian Wushuang could not help asking. Bei was a powerful principles master who could open a secret realm of heaven and earth. Such a rule master was a peak expert in the entire divine beginning world. Among the factions under the Divine Ancestor Taoist sect, he should be ranked among the top. You can say that. Bei nodded slightly. I belong to the Blood Ancestors lineage. There are more than 10 masters of principles, but there are only 2 who can match my strength. Back then, I was a great general in the Blood Ancestors lineage. As Bei spoke, his gaze became misty. It was as if he had recalled everything he had experienced over the long years. I once fought my way into a sect alone, killed for rule masters, and left unhurriedly. I was lucky enough to accept the invitation to participate in the Heaven Lake Banquet, where the top experts gathered. I once participated in the world-ending war with the experts of the Blood Ancestors bloodline. I was even lucky enough to go to the universe battlefield with the Blood Ancestor. Bei's voice was rather ethereal. Hearing his words, Jian Wushuang's expression was very strange. The Heaven Lake Feast? The world-ending war from countless years ago? The universe battlefield? Jian Wushuang murmured. He was very unfamiliar with these things. However, He also knew that he was only an immortal saint and had stayed in the endless territories. He had not been to the third heaven, the core of the divine beginning world. It was normal that he did not know many things. However, Xuebei's words still made Jian Wushuang's blood boil and his heart filled with yearning. After a long time, Xuebei seemed to calm down. Forget it. It's all in the past. His voice also became low. Xuebei's expression was obviously a bit desolate. Right, no matter how brilliant and arrogant he used to be, he still died in the end. What was left now was only a trace of consciousness. Heavenly Sword Marquis, if you can pass the test I set, then the opportunities in this secret realm will be handed to you. I left 4 opportunities in this secret realm, Xuebei said. 4. Jian Wushuang's eyes lit up and his heart was full of expectation. First is the first opportunity. Xuebei waved his hand and took out an interspatial ring. This is... Jian Wushuang looked at the interspatial ring in confusion. This is all the resources and treasures that I have collected in my life. They are all in this interspatial ring, Xuebei said. Hearing this, Jian Wushuang's eyes couldn't help reddening. The treasures and resources that Xuebei had collected in his life? Wasn't this all of Xuebei's wealth? This was an extremely powerful principles master. All of his wealth? How many resources and treasures did he have? Jian Wushuang could not imagine. Don't be happy too early. This interspatial ring is not meant for you. Just as Jian Wushuang was excited, Xuebei poured cold water on him. Jian Wushuang could not help but be stunned. Xuebei had just said that he would give him an opportunity, and then he took out this interspatial ring. In the end, it was not for him. It's true that this interspatial ring is what I've collected all my life, but I intend to leave these things to the blood ancestor lineage. After all, there is competition among all the factions in the divine ancestor Taoist sect. This competition is very fierce, and the blood ancestor lineage also desperately needs the resources that I've left behind. The reason why I'm taking it out now is that I hope you can give it to the blood ancestor lineage in the future. Of course, I've already set a special restriction on the interspatial ring. Only the unique means of the blood ancestor bloodline can unlock it. Otherwise, even a principles master cannot open it, Xuebei said. Jian Wushuang's expression became even more strange. Xuebei glanced at Jian Wushuang. He said, Heavenly Sword Marquis, although you didn't take me as your master, you passed my test and can inherit my legacy. You can barely be considered half a disciple of me, so you can be considered a member of the blood ancestor's bloodline. It's not too much for me to ask you to give this interspatial ring to the blood ancestor's bloodline. It's not too much, of course it's not too much. Jian Wushuang just smiled awkwardly. You don't have to be too disappointed. Although I won't give you this interspatial ring that I've collected all my life, I've also chosen 3 special treasures for you. These 3 treasures are my first opportunity for you, Xuebei said. Hearing this, Jian Wushuang looked forward to it again. First is the first treasure. Xuebei waved his hand, and a 1-meter-long jade ruler appeared in front of Jian Wushuang. The jade ruler had a unique shape, and its body was carved with extremely complicated secret patterns. These secret patterns covered the entire body of the jade ruler. Moreover, the jade ruler was surrounded by 2 completely different powers, ice and fire. Seeing the jade ruler in front of him, Jian Wushuang's expression could not help but change. From the first glance at the jade ruler, he could already tell that it was extraordinary. This aura is extraordinary and superior. What level is this treasure? Jian Wushuang exclaimed. He had seen many treasures, and the most amazing one was naturally the mountain river map. However, because the level of the map was too high, Jian Wushuang could not see the specific level of the map. Other than the map, the other treasures Jian Wushuang had seen were probably far inferior to the jade ruler. This is the Ice-Fire Swimming Dragon Ruler. It's a domain-type supreme treasure that I obtained by chance a long time ago, Xuebei said. Supreme treasure? Jian Wushuang's pupils constricted. In the divine beginning world, there were all kinds of treasures, from earth treasures to heavenly treasures to holy treasures. Holy treasures were only used by the immortal saint, but the principal's masters, whose strength far surpassed that of the immortal saint, used supreme treasures. The supreme treasure of heaven and earth was extremely powerful. Jian Wushuang finally understood why the Jade Ruler's aura was so extraordinary and superior. It turned out to be a supreme treasure, and it was a domain-type supreme treasure. Among all kinds of treasures in the world, attack weapons and body protection armors were the most common, while domain-type, suppression-type, and soul-type treasures were very rare. Such a rare treasure was much more valuable than 10 attack weapons of the same level. A domain-type supreme treasure was naturally comparable to more than 10 attack weapons of the same level. If a cultivator wants to go further, he first has to survive in all kinds of dangers or environments. Only by living longer will he be able to walk a longer path in the future. That's why I left you this ice and fire swimming dragon ruler, so that you can control your domain. With the help of your domain, as long as you don't encounter too strong an enemy, you can leave whenever you want, stay whenever you want, and seize the opportunity. You'll need this ice-fire swimming dragon ruler in the future, Shui Bei said. Yes, of course. Jian Wushuang was very excited. Of course, he needed a domain-type supreme treasure. After all, he was good at domains. Previously, he had relied on the combination of the Nine Bends Bloodlight River, Star Armor Domain, and Prison of Punishment to suppress cultivators of the same level. However, because of his great increase in strength, this domain technique gradually weakened. There was nothing he could do. The Nine Bends Bloody Light River was only a third-grade holy treasure. It was still very effective against some false saints or ordinary first-grade true saints, but at the second and third-grade true saints level, the suppression effect of the Nine Bends Bloody Light River was negligible. As for the Prison of Punishment, it was just one of the methods of the secret skill Divine Punishment. This method was just the most basic method. It formed a golden domain to trap the opponent and at the same time, produce a certain domain suppression effect. However, as Jian Wushuang had cultivated the Divine Punishment God to 30,000 feet high, this method was rarely used because the effect was just SOSO. The only domain that had a good effect was the Star Armor domain. After the 9 Luminary Star Armor reached the Heavenly Armor chapter, the Star Armor domain it used still had a certain oppressive effect. Now, if he got the Icefire Swimming Dragon Ruler and used the power of this domain-type Supreme Treasure, he did not need to use too much. Even if he only used 10% of it, it would be enough to greatly increase his battle strength. With the Star Armor domain, it would be even better. The effect would be even better. Without hesitation, Jian Wushuang waved his hand and took the Icefire Swimming Dragon Ruler. Shui Bei did not stop him. Next is the second treasure, Shui Bei said again. Jian Wushuang's eyes were shining, and his heart was full of expectation. The first treasure Shui Bei left for him was a domain-type supreme treasure, so he would not be able to find the second treasure. Under Jian Wushuang's expectation, Shui Bei suddenly flipped his palm and a golden seal appeared in his hand. This is... Jian Wushuang looked at the golden seal and felt an extremely powerful aura from it. This is the ruler seal. Before I became a principal's master, I specially hired someone to refine it so that I could better kill the immortal saint. Although this ruler seal is not a supreme treasure, its value is not inferior to a supreme treasure. Shui Bei immediately began to explain. The ruler seal contains a special magic formation. Once it's used, it can seal a large territory as fast as possible, can control time and space. The person holding the seal knows what's happening in the territory sealed by the magic formation. The magic formation can be big or small. It's all under your control. If you're in a fight and you're worried that your opponent will escape, you can use the ruler seal to seal the territory. Unless your divine power is 2 levels stronger than yours, no one can escape from the magic formation. Jian Wushuang was shocked. He was shocked because the sight of the ruler's seal reminded him of the dragon imprisoning compass of the magic note Divine Kingdom. The dragon imprisoning compass could also seal a huge territory in a short period of time. At that time, the experts of the demonic sound kingdom had sealed off his territory so that he would not have a chance to escape. Its function was obviously similar to that of the master seal. No, although the dragon imprisoning compass is very powerful, it came from the magic note king. Even if a rank for true saints spent a lot of money to refine this treasure, its level would not be much higher. If I'm not wrong, the dragon imprisoning compass must have a great limit, Jian Wushuang thought. This was indeed the case. Although the power of the dragon imprisoning compass was extraordinary, it had already taken shape. The power of the array within the dragon imprisoning compass had a limit. In the hands of the magic note divine king, it could unleash its full power. The array could seal space and time, making it difficult for even a rank 4 true saint to escape in a short period of time. However, even if the magic note king's strength broke through to a rank 5 true saint, the power of the ball cage array would still not increase. Could only trap cultivators below rank 4. The ruler seal was completely different. The ruler seal directly controlled space and time, and the power of the magic array was automatically activated by the cultivator. The stronger the divine power of the owner of the ruler seal, the more powerful the magic array would be. To break the magic array, the strength of the magic array must be 2 levels higher than the owner's divine power. For example, if Jian Wushuang used all his secret skills, his divine power would definitely be at rank 4 true saint level or even one of the best. At this time, he could use the ruler seal magic array to seal an area. Then this array, only the 6th level true saint and above the strong can be broken. Even a rank 5 true saint, a level stronger than Jian Wushuang's divine power, could not escape from this magic array. The seal of mastery, awesome. Jian Wushuang's eyes sparkled. Before the ice and fire dragon ruler, is the domain class treasure, can let his life-saving ability greatly enhance. Now, the ruler seal could increase his ability to chase after his enemies. With the ruler seal in his hand, Jian Wushuang was not afraid that his enemies would escape. Even if his enemies had an immortal body, as long as they were trapped in the formation of the ruler seal and could not escape, Jian Wushuang could kill them slowly. The last treasure is this. Shuebei flipped his palm again and took out several purple crystals. These purple crystals were very pure in color and would definitely be dazzling in the sunlight. Senior, what is this? Jian Wushuang asked. It's a universe crystal. I brought it back when I was adventuring in the universe battlefield. Shuebei said. Universe crystal? What's the use of this? Jian Wushuang asked. Its use is very broad, but it's not useful to you now. After all, if you want to use this universe crystal, you have to be at least a principles master. Shuebei said. Only the rule master can use it? Jian Wushuang was stunned. Senior, since I don't need it now, why do you leave it to me? It's simple. Although you don't need it, it represents great wealth. Shuebei said with a smile. Didn't you say that you're a heaven-level member of the Heaven-Cleaving Alliance? I know about the treasure pavilion of the Heaven-Cleaving Alliance. You can exchange these universe crystals for sacred elixirs in the treasure pavilion. If nothing unexpected happens, 1 universe crystal can be exchanged for 5 billion sacred elixirs. What? Jian Wushuang was shocked. 1 universe crystal could be exchanged for 5 billion sacred elixirs. But Shuebei had taken out 10 universe crystals. 10 universe crystals? Wasn't that 50 billion sacred elixirs? Take it. Although I didn't give you the interspatial ring, you are the inheritor of my legacy, so you can't be too shabby. These 10 universe crystals are for you, so you should spend them sparingly, Shuebei said. Thank you, senior. Jian Wushuang was very excited. He waved his hand and put all 10 universe crystals into the interspatial ring. After taking them, he was still very excited. The 3 treasures that Shuebei had prepared for him, Ice and Fire Dragon Ruler, Ruler Seal, and 10 universe crystals, all of which were extremely valuable and useful to him. But the 3 treasures added together were only the first opportunity that Shuebei wanted to give him. Shuebei had just said that there were 4 opportunities left for him in this secret realm. If the first one was like this, then the other 3 opportunities. The second opportunity want to give you is a secret skill, Shuebei said again. A secret skill? Jian Wushuang was looking forward to it. This secret skill is very special. It's called Emperor's Order, Shuebei said slowly. The Emperor's Order skill is also a life-saving secret skill. It was obtained by the leader of the Blood Ancestor's bloodline, the Blood Ancestor, by chance when he was adventuring in the universe battlefield. After that, he only passed this secret skill to 2 people. One was his personal disciple, and the other was me. Now I will pass the secret skill to you." With that, Shui Bei slowly raised his palm and pointed his right index finger at Jian Wushuang's glabella. Shui Bei's index finger touched Jian Wushuang's glabella, and instantly, a vast amount of information surged toward Jian Wushuang. Jian Wushuang was also rapidly receiving this information in his mind. After he had completely received this information, he finally had some understanding of the Emperor's Order skill. This is the Emperor's Order skill. Jian Wushuang was completely shocked. There was nothing he could do because the Emperor's Order skill was indeed shocking. This secret skill required a special method to create a clone. Of course, this clone was not a clone that could be used for fighting but a pure energy clone. Yes, it was a pure energy clone. It only had a huge amount of divine power, but it did not have the ability to fight and kill people. Do not underestimate this kind of energy clone. According to the message that Shui Bei had just sent him, the Emperor's Order technique was to condense such an energy clone and carry it around with him. The divine power of this kind of energy clone was equivalent to the original body. Once the original body went through a big battle, the divine power would be exhausted. He could immediately replenish it through the energy clone. If he was willing, he could instantly replenish his divine power. After all, when a cultivator reached the immortal saint realm and controlled the immortal body, as long as his divine power was not completely exhausted, he could constantly refill it. The importance of this divine power was obvious. Thus, in the divine beginning realm, many immortal saints carried a large number of pellets to recover their divine power. They were prepared for emergencies. Some of the best pellets could recover 20 to 30% of the immortal saint's divine power in a short time. To those immortal saints, they were like precious treasures that would attract countless people to fight for them. Because such a medicinal elixir, at a critical moment, could possibly give the immortal saints an extra life. Just that medicinal elixir alone was enough. And how important was an Emperor's life clone that could provide the same divine power as the original body? Moreover, when the Emperor's Order skill was cultivated to an extremely high level, it could not only form one Emperor's life clone, but also 9. 9 Emperor's life clones, that was 9 lives. What an incredible secret skill. Senior, this Emperor's life skill. Jian Wushuang was so shocked that he could not speak. Why are you shocked? Shui Bei smiled. When the blood ancestor taught this secret skill to me, I was as shocked as you. This secret skill is indeed incredible, but it's from the universe battlefield, so it's normal for it to be so amazing. However, the Emperor's Order skill is very powerful, but it can't guarantee that you won't die. For example, I condensed 5 Emperor's Order avatars at my peak, but in that battle, I wanted to escape, but in the end, I used up all my divine power, but in the end, I still died. If I hadn't reacted quickly and split my consciousness when I was about to die, carrying my secret realm and my interspatial ring directly into the spacetime crack, you wouldn't have had the chance to see me. Jian Wushuang was shocked and then nodded secretly. You can barely cultivate the Emperor's Order skill with your current strength. However, to cultivate this secret skill, you need a well-preserved divine body. Such a divine body can only be relied on by other cultivators. If you want the divine power of the Emperor's Order avatar to be equal to the original body, the divine body that carries the Emperor's Order avatar should be at the same level as the original body. For example, I hope to collect the corpses of many experts for the Emperor's Order skill, Shui Bei said. Senior, you said before that you broke into a sect and killed 4 Principles Masters in one go, but there are only 2 Principles Masters corpses in this secret realm. If I'm not wrong, you used the other Principles Masters corpses to refine the Emperor's Order doppelganger, right? Jian Wushuang said. Yes. Shui Bei nodded. Senior, I have a favor to ask of you, Jian Wushuang said. Speak, Shui Bei said. My physique is very special and my divine power is very vast. Although I'm only a rank 1 true saint now, if I cultivate the Emperor's Order skill, the corpse of the expert who carries the Emperor's Order doppelganger cannot be done by a cultivator of the same level. Even the corpse of a rank 4, 5, or even rank 6 true saint who is stronger than me may not be able to do it. Therefore, I want to take a few corpses from this secret realm. I don't know if it's possible, Jian Wushuang said. How many corpses? Shuebei raised his eyebrows. These corpses were prepared for the cultivation of the art of Emperor's order. Since you want to use them, of course you can, but you have to be able to take them with you. Will I encounter any trouble when I take these corpses? Jian Wushuang frowned. Of course. Shuebei smiled. The corpses of the experts in my secret realm were all well known in the divine beginning world. Even the weakest among them was almost invincible among the immortal saints. Even if such experts are dead, there will still remains on their corpses. If you want to refine these corpses into tools to carry the Emperor's avatar, of course there won't agree. Is that so? Jian Wushuang understood. Let's try it later. Jian Wushuang had received the inheritance of the Emperor's order skill, so he knew how powerful this secret skill was. He definitely wanted to cultivate this secret skill. However, to cultivate this secret skill, it was necessary to carry the equipment of the Emperor's order doppelganger, which was the corpse of an expert. Next is the third opportunity, Shuebei said again. Jian Wushuang looked at him expectantly. Shuebei flipped his hand and took out a token. This is the third opportunity for you. Shuebei threw the token to Jian Wushuang. Jian Wushuang took it and scanned it with his consciousness, but his expression became strange, because he could not see any information or content from the token. To be exact, there was something inside the token, but there was a layer of restriction inside the token, which prevented his consciousness from exploring. Senior, what is inside the token? Jian Wushuang asked. A star map, Shuebei said. Star map? Jian Wushuang was stunned. Just a star map was the third opportunity left for him? Jian Wushuang immediately understood that this star map was not a trivial matter. I told you before that I went to the universe battlefield and this star map came from the universe battlefield. To be exact, when I went to the universe battlefield, I entered a special spacetime by chance. However, I was too weak and could not move in that special spacetime. I had no choice but to leave. However, I used the star map to record the location of that special spacetime, Shuebei said. Another universe battlefield? Jian Wushuang's expression was strange. Senior, what is this universe battlefield? The universe battlefield. I don't know exactly what it is or where it came from, but I know that there are countless opportunities. As long as you have the strength and good luck, you can get unexpected things from it, Shuebei said. His expression was obviously a little excited, but soon he became serious. Little guy, your strength is still weak, but you can pass my test, and you have a big secret on you. The space for you to grow in the future will be huge. In the future, as long as you grow carefully, it shouldn't be difficult to become a top-tier warrior. And if one day you can break through to become a principal's master, when your strength reaches or surpasses mine, you can break this restriction and get the star map hidden in the token. Through the star map, you can go to the universe battlefield and find the special spacetime that I found. I have a feeling that there is a great opportunity hidden in that special spacetime. I didn't have the strength and courage to go there, but you did. If your strength is limited in the future and you can't break through to become a principal's master, you can give this token and the interspatial ring that I gave you to the blood ancestor, the leader of the blood ancestor's bloodline. I understand. Jian Wushuang nodded slightly and then carefully put the token into the interspatial ring. He understood that the star map hidden in the token was related to a great opportunity in the universe battlefield, and its value was immeasurable. Shuebei gave the star map to him in the hope that when he grew to a certain level, he would go to the spacetime where the star map was located and find the opportunities inside. 3 of the 4 opportunities had been given to him, and there was only one left. Little guy, the last opportunity one left you is a good fortune, Shuebei said directly. Jian Wushuang's eyes lit up. Good fortune? 3 opportunities. The first opportunity was 3 priceless treasures. The second opportunity was the incredible Emperor's order skill. The third opportunity was related to a star map of a great opportunity in the universe battlefield. The fourth opportunity was finally a good fortune. This good fortune also comes from the universe battlefield. Shuebei smiled. Then he flipped his hand and took out a stone. Yes, it was an ordinary-looking stone. At first glance, the stone seemed to have been picked up on the ground. However, Jian Wushuang's perception was extremely sharp. When he carefully examined the stone with his soul power, his pupils secretly shrank. Life! Jian Wushuang's heart trembled. He actually felt a vigorous vitality from the ordinary stone in front of him. It seemed that this stone was a complete life. This is. Jian Wushuang looked at Shui Bei curiously. Shui Bei smiled and said, I just told you that I found that special spacetime when I was adventuring in the universe battlefield. Although I only stayed in that special spacetime for a short while, I also obtained a treasure, which is the stone in my hand. A flower, a tree, and a Bodhi. This seemingly ordinary stone contains a complete Bodhi world. A Bodhi world? Jian Wushuang was stunned. It's okay if you don't understand. When you're ready, I'll let you enter the Bodhi world. You can stay there for a full 100 years. In 100 years, the Bodhi world will directly collapse, and the stone in my hand will also shatter. You will also come out of the Bodhi world. As for how much you can gain in these 100 years, it's up to you, Shui Bei said. I understand. Jian Wushuang nodded. Although he did not know what kind of fortune was contained in the Bodhi world, the stone alone gave him an extraordinary feeling. Moreover, since Shui Bei treated this as his last opportunity, it was certainly not bad. Little guy, you can prepare yourself first, Shui Bei said. There's no need to prepare. I'm already at the peak of my condition, Jian Wushuang said. Well, let's go in. Shui Bei clenched his hand, and the stone in his hand immediately burst out with a dazzling light. The dazzling light shone on Jian Wushuang, and his body began to shrink involuntarily. Then he slowly floated up like a piece of paper and finally completely disappeared into the stone. Inside the stone in the Bodhi world, when Jian Wushuang appeared, he found that he had arrived at an otherworldly paradise. Here, the birds sang and the flowers were fragrant, and the land was full of vitality. There were lush trees, all kinds of flowers all over the mountains and plains, and much green grass under the ground. It was a scene of prosperity. In the middle of the land, there was a cottage. The cottage was small but exquisite. In front of the cottage, there was a clear river, and in the middle of the river, there was a wooden bridge. At first glance, it looked like a secluded place for an unworldly expert. Is this the Bodhi world? Jian Wushuang frowned slightly. Is there anything different about this world except that it's full of vitality? With a heart full of doubts, Jian Wushuang began to carefully explore the surroundings. At first, Jian Wushuang did not find anything different. He even searched the entire world, but he did not see anything different. However, when his consciousness simply swept past the woodpecker on a big tree, his expression suddenly changed. That bird? Jian Wushuang stared at the bird, or to be exact, every feather on the woodpecker's body. He first focused on one of the feathers, and in an instant, boom, he saw a person holding a sword and waving it. Yes, it was just a feather of a woodpecker, but he saw a man waving his sword. Moreover, the sword was light and casual. It looked ordinary, but there was an indescribable desolation in it. Jian Wushuang was stunned by the sword. He was completely stunned, because he could not understand that sword. He could not see through it. He could not even see the slightest bit of profoundness or sword principle, let alone understand it. But he could clearly sense that the sword move was many times more profound than the violent elephant and star dream moves that he had created. It was a complete difference between heaven and earth. The reason why he could not sense any profoundness or sword principle was that the sword move was too high level. It's obviously a bird's feather, but in the blink of an eye, it has evolved into a sword skill that is so unfathomable, Jian Wushuang murmured. After a long while, he looked at the second feather of the woodpecker. Buzz, buzz, the same scene appeared. It was still a person holding a sword and waving it, but this sword seemed to be chopping wood. When an ordinary person wielded an axe to chop firewood, the moment the axe touched the firewood, a hidden power would burst out. This was the swordsmanship that Jian Wushuang was seeing now. But the same thing was, Jian Wushuang still could not see any mystery or depth in this sword move. But his instinct told him that this sword was very powerful and terrifying. Jian Wushuang looked at the third, the fourth, and the feathers one by one, but he saw the world-shaking swordsmanship hidden in the feathers. Not only the feathers on this bird, but also other things. Jian Wushuang looked at the other materials in the world. He looked at the flowers, grass, trees, and the thatched cottage in the center. Looking at it carefully, he was completely shocked. Just as he expected, it was not just the feathers on the woodpecker, but all the substances in this world, the petals of every flower, the leaves of every big tree, and even the straw on the thatched cottage. He just looked at them with his heart. All of them could be transformed into astonishing swordsmanship. What kind of world is this? Jian Wushuang was completely shocked. This world looked ordinary, but it contained countless swordsmanship. Moreover, each of these swordsmanships was profound and unfathomable, making it difficult for Jian Wushuang to figure it out. It was really incredible. Outside this world, in the huge palace, Shui Bei's consciousness incarnation was still sitting on the lofty throne, while the stone was still in his palm. Looking at the stone in his palm, Shui Bei's eyes flickered with a strange color. The Bodhi world, every flower, every plant, every Bodhi. Even when I first got it, I was shocked by the opportunities contained in it. Shui Bei sighed. The Bodhi world was in his hands. Naturally, he knew about the opportunities contained in it. The Bodhi world was made up of countless substances, which could evolve into shocking secret arts. The type of the ultimate skill was determined by the cultivator who entered it. For example, Jian Wushuang was good at sword principle, so what he saw in the Bodhi world were countless profound sword skills. However, if a cultivator who was good at saber principle entered the Bodhi world, the substances in the Bodhi world would evolve into profound saber skills. In short, any cultivator who entered the Bodhi world would see things that would be of great help to him. However, each person was allowed to enter the Bodhi world once, and they could only stay for 100 years. After 100 years, the Bodhi world would directly collapse and disappear. I saw that the little guy performed 2 sword skills when he was challenging D Mountain. Those 2 sword skills have already had a basic outline, so they should have formed the embryonic form of the sword skills. However, it's only the embryonic form of the 2 sword skills, so it's not comprehensive at all. Now, I hope that the little guy can make good use of the opportunities in the Bodhi world and gain a lot in these 100 years. Shui Bei muttered. Then he closed his eyes. In the Bodhi world, Jian Wushuang had already recovered from the endless shock. After the shock, Jian Wushuang immediately became ecstatic. Yes, ecstatic. One had to know that the Bodhi world he was in now had countless substances. Not to mention the woodpecker's feathers. There were countless leaves on a big tree, and the thatched cottage was made of many straws. How many straws were there? There were too many. But these things could evolve into astonishing swordsmanship. There were all kinds of swordsmanship, and they were all powerful and profound. Usually, Jian Wushuang would be excited to see one of them, and he would study it carefully. There were too many swordsmanship here. He had 100 years to study these profound swordsmanship. After I broke through to the Immortal Saint realm, my comprehension of the space-time principles has also broken through. The most important thing now is to improve my swordsmanship. Jian Wushuang clenched his hands. He had long known that the 2 unique skills, Xianxia and Star Dream, were not enough for a fierce battle. These 2 unique skills were not a complete sword skill at all. Therefore, he had to think of ways to create more unique skills to perfect his sword skill. In order to create new sword skill unique skills, the fastest way was to have a large number of profound sword skills for him to learn from, study and study. Unfortunately, such sword skills were too rare. Jian Wushuang did not have such an opportunity before. But now, there were countless powerful sword skills in the Bodhi world. He could study them as he wished. The only thing he felt regretful about was that it was too short a time. Only 100 years. Jian Wushuang might not be able to completely study such countless sword skills even if he was given 1,000 years, 10,000 years, or even tens of thousands of years. 100 years was indeed too little. I can't be too greedy. It's already good enough for me to stay in the Bodhi world for 100 years and carefully study it for 100 years. Senior Shui Bei is right. This Bodhi world is a great fortune for me. What happens next will depend on how much progress I can make in the next 100 years. Jian Wushuang clenched his fists, his eyes sparkled. Soon he sat down under a big tree, closed his eyes, and began to meditate. Buzz, buzz, buzz. Jian Wushuang carefully inspected every leaf on the tree, and in an instant, pictures appeared in front of him. In the pictures, there was a scene of a person performing swordsmanship. The swordsmanship performed by that person was extremely profound. Normally, he would have to study this sword technique for a very long time. However, because there were too many profound sword techniques like this, he only saw most of the sword techniques once before he looked at the second sword technique. Even if there was one sword technique that inspired him, he would only see it twice at most. He would never see it a third time. Even so, it would still take him a long time to read all the sword techniques represented by each leaf on the tree. While reading the sword techniques, Jian Wushuang was constantly studying his own sword techniques in his mind. He was very determined. Although the sword techniques in front of him were powerful, he only watched and learned them. His real goal was to create a prototype of his own sword techniques. Then, he would create a brand new swordsmanship that was completely his own. Time passed quickly. 100 years passed by quickly. Shui Bei slowly opened his eyes in the huge palace. He glanced at the stone in his palm. A crack had already appeared in the middle of the stone, and the crack was still expanding. The time is up. I wonder how the little guy got in the Bodhi world, Shui Bei murmured. The Bodhi world was originally a world where birds sang and flowers were fragrant, like a paradise. But now, boom! Purple-brown thunder suddenly streaked across the sky, and it did not disappear for a long time. It seemed to have completely consumed half of the world. The world began to tremble crazily. Is it going to collapse? Jian Wushuang sat cross-legged in the thatched cottage. He felt the changes in the world and slowly opened his eyes. There was a trace of regret in his eyes. He had no choice. The opportunities in the Bodhi world were too helpful to him. In the past 100 years, he had not wasted a single second. He had spent all his time comprehending those sword skills, but even so, the sword skills he saw were not even 1,000th of the entire Bodhi world. However, the Bodhi world was about to collapse. Forget it. Although I can't go through all the sword skills in the Bodhi world, in the past 100 years, I have created 5 sword skills, namely Kanyang, Emperor's Blood Kill, Instant of Life and Death, Ninth Heaven of Illusory Sword, and the Strongest Blood Azura. In addition to the 2 sword skills, Xianxia and Star Dream, I have created a total of 7 sword skills. Jian Wushuang's eyes were shining. His cultivation had not improved in the past 100 years, and his comprehension of the rules had not improved at all. All of the improvement was in sword principle and sword skill. First was the sword principle. Not long ago, the boundless sword tree in his body had only reached 6,600 feet. Now, after 100 years, the boundless sword tree in his body had grown again. Now it had reached 9,900 feet. When it came to time sword skill, the power of swordsmanship had once again risen to a new level. As for absolute arts, swordsmanship absolute arts were Jian Wushuang's greatest gains in the past 100 years. Kanyang, Emperor Blood Kill, Instant of Life and Death, Ninth Heaven of Illusionary Sword, and Blood Azura. Jian Wushuang had created a total of 5 swordsmanship moves in the past 100 years. Each sword move was perfectly integrated with the spacetime principles, like the 2 sword moves of Xianxia and Star Dream. They were both embryonic forms of sword skills. And all 5 of them had reached the level of rank for absolute arts. The 2 moves of Xianxia and Star Dream had also reached the level of rank for absolute arts in the past 100 years. In other words, a total of 7 embryonic forms of sword skills had been created, and all of them had reached the level of rank for absolute arts. Each of the 7 moves had its own characteristics and functions. The 7 moves of swordsmanship had formed complete swordsmanship. Even the name of the swordsmanship had been decided by Jian Wushuang. It was called the Wushuang Sword Manual. The Wushuang Sword Manual was named after Jian Wushuang himself. It was a type of swordsmanship that he had personally created and was most suitable for himself. In the next long period of time, the Wushuang Sword Manual would accompany him and grow together. Jian Wushuang was already quite satisfied to be able to create a complete sword art within a short 100 years. Moreover, among the sword arts that he had created, the blood azura move surprised him even more. The Bodhi world is about to collapse. It's time for me to go out. Jian Wushuang smiled faintly and slowly stood up. Rumble. The huge and magical Bodhi world finally collapsed completely. Although the world collapsed, it did not affect Jian Wushuang. After a series of changes, Jian Wushuang returned to the huge palace. Standing in front of him were Shuebei and Gu Lao. Little guy, it's been 100 years. You must have gained a lot in the Bodhi world. Shuebei looked at him. I did. Jian Wushuang nodded. That's good. Shuebei nodded slightly. As long as you are satisfied, you won't waste my fourth opportunity. Jian Wushuang was secretly grateful. Shuebei had left him 4 opportunities. Except for the third opportunity and the mysterious star map, the other 3 opportunities were of great use to him, especially the fourth opportunity. The 100 years he had spent in the Bodhi world had surprised him. I've given you all the opportunities. You can leave now. Do you have any questions before you leave? Shuebei asked. Senior, I have something to ask you, Jian Wushuang said respectfully. Tell me. If I know it and you are qualified to know it, I will tell you, Shuebei said. Senior, you should know that I am an anomaly in heaven and earth, and the heavenly Tao doesn't allow me to do so. That's why I was extra careful when I was roaming around the divine beginning realm. I was afraid that I would attract the power of the heavenly Tao's will. However, in the divine beginning realm, other than the heavenly Tao's will itself, there are also some experts or forces that are on the same side as the heavenly Tao's will. This made me even more cautious and careful. Take the Heaven-Cleaving Alliance, for example. Although I am a heaven-grade member of the Heaven-Cleaving Alliance, and the Heaven-Cleaving Alliance has invited me to cultivate in the 3 palaces of Heaven-Cleaving Alliance twice, I didn't know the position of the Heaven-Cleaving Alliance. I was worried that the higher-ups of the Heaven-Cleaving Alliance would notice something in the 3 palaces and get killed. Therefore, I declined both invitations. Before Jian Wushuang could ask his question, Shuebei had already opened his mouth. You want to ask which forces in the divine beginning realm are on the same side as the will of heaven and will be your enemy, right? Yes. Jian Wushuang nodded. I know the answer to this question, and I can answer it for you. Shuebei said, in the divine beginning realm, the will of heaven is indeed very special and supreme. If it goes against the laws of heaven, the will of heaven will not tolerate it. This is also a fact. However, the will of heaven is not truly omnipotent in the divine beginning realm. It has many limitations, and even its own strength is limited. The will of the heavenly Tao is limited? Even his own strength is limited. Jian Wushuang was stunned. Because of this, some of the supreme experts in the divine beginning realm can completely ignore the will of the heavenly Tao. Even the will of the heavenly Tao has to retreat in front of him and don't dare to offend him, Shuebei said. What? Jian Wushuang was shocked. Even the will of the heavenly Tao has to retreat and don't dare to offend him? Is there really such a supreme expert in the divine beginning realm? Of course there are, Shuebei said with absolute certainty. I don't know about other powerful warriors, but what I know can make the will of heavenly Tao retreat. There are 3 people that I don't dare to offend. These 3 people are the founder of the Divine Ancestor Taoist sect, the Divine Ancestor, the Temple Master of the Temporal Temple, and the Mysterious Alliance Master in the Legends of the Heaven-Cleaving Alliance. These 3 people have already reached an astonishing level of strength. They don't even need to fight. They just stand there and form their own world, which is not something the will of the heavenly Tao can touch. As long as they are in their place, the power of the will of the heavenly Tao will not exist. So powerful? Jian Wushuang was shocked, but at the same time he immediately thought of his master, Xianxia. Xianxia was the first perfect chaotic creature in the world. His strength was also shocking. Jian Wushuang had been lucky enough to see a scene in which the power of the will of heaven could not do anything to Xianxia, and could only retreat. He wondered who was stronger, the founder of the Divine Ancestor Taoist sect, the Temple Master of the Spacetime Temple, and the Alliance Master of the Heaven-Cleaving Alliance compared to his master, Xianxia. By the way, Senior Shuebe, you just said that the rulers of the three freedom alliances are supreme in the third heaven. Shouldn't the three masters of the Saint Realm make the will of heaven retreat? Jian Wushuang asked. Masters of the Saint Realm? Shuebe shook his head. I don't know if the three masters of the Saint Realm can make the will of heaven retreat, but I do know that they are not as powerful as they seem. What do you mean? Jian Wushuang looked at him. I don't know the details. After all, I'm not qualified to be in contact with some secrets of that level. But I heard from the leader of the Blood Ancestors bloodline that the three masters of the Saint Realm were just lucky and favored by the heavenly Tao. If they were not favored by the heavenly Tao, they would not be as strong as him, Shuebe said. He's just lucky and favored by the heavenly Tao? Jian Wushuang was stunned. From the leader of the Blood Ancestors bloodline, it seems that he looks down on the three masters of the Saint Realm? I guess so, but so be it. Although the three masters of the Saint Realm are no match for the Blood Ancestor, they wouldn't be able to kill him alone. Moreover, the Blood Ancestor is the leader of one of the great sects of the Divine Ancestor Taoist sect and the founder of the Divine Ancestor Taoist sect. The three masters of the Saint Realm don't have the courage to deal with the Blood Ancestor, Shuebe said. In other words, the founder of the Divine Ancestor Taoist sect is stronger than the three masters of the Saint Realm? Jian Wushuang asked. That's for sure. Shuebe nodded. I've heard that any one of the three masters of the Saint Realm has to be respectful to the founder of the Divine Ancestor Taoist sect. Hearing this, Jian Wushuang could not help but sigh in his heart. He had always thought that the most terrifying people in this world were the three masters of the Saint Realm in the third heaven. But now it seemed that this was not the case. The founder of the Divine Ancestor Taoist sect, the Temple Master of the Temporal Temple, and the mysterious Alliance Master of the Heaven-Cleaving Alliance might all be stronger than the three great Saint Realm Masters. Little fellow, you were just about to ask how many enemies you have in this world. I can tell you now that since it is an anomaly of the Heavenly Tao, other than being careful of the power of the will of the Heavenly Tao, you only need to be careful of the three great Saint Realm Masters and the forces under them. As for the other forces, you don't need to care about them. For example, the three great freedom alliances are not on the same side as the will of the Heavenly Tao, especially the Heaven-Cleaving Alliance. Shuebei's expression became serious. The Heaven-Cleaving Alliance is the strongest force among the three freedom alliances and has the deepest foundation. Just from its name alone, you can see that the Heaven-Cleaving Alliance has always been in a state of hostility with the Heavenly Tao will. The experts under the Heaven-Cleaving Alliance and the three Saint Realm Masters often have all sorts of fights and even fights. This has long been known by everyone. As you said, the Heaven-Cleaving Alliance has invited you twice. If you want to cultivate in the three palaces, you don't have to worry about it. You can just agree to it directly. When you get to the three palaces, the fact that you are an extraordinary figure may not be exposed. Even if it is exposed and the three masters of the Saint Realm know about it, the Heaven-Cleaving Alliance will do its best to protect you. Is that so? Jian Wushuang smiled. According to what Shuebe said, his previous concerns were unnecessary. However, he was just being cautious. Now that he knew that the Heaven-Cleaving Alliance and the will of Heavenly Tao were enemies, he did not need to worry about the Heaven-Cleaving Alliance. Little guy, I have answered your question. In addition, I have another word for you. Shuebei's voice was solemn. You have great talent and great potential. Your achievements in the future should be limitless. But you must remember that no matter what level you reach in the future, you must always remain in awe of this world. That is to say, the heart of awe. Heart of awe. Jian Wushuang's expression changed. This world is too big and vast. You can't imagine how vast it is. Even what I know is just a drop in the ocean. Take the will of heaven as an example. For ordinary cultivators, the will of heaven is superior and cannot be challenged. However, for those who stand at the top of the divine beginning world, such as the founder of the Divine Ancestor Taoist sect and the Temple Master of the Spacetime Temple, the will of heaven is nothing. However, even super-existences like the founder of the Divine Ancestor Taoist sect, the Temple Master of the Spacetime Temple, and the Alliance Master of the Heaven-Cleaving Alliance still have something they need to fear in this world. In short, There is always someone better than you. No matter what, you should always be in awe. For example, I was too careless and underestimated this world. That's why I ended up dead. I hope you won't follow in my footsteps in the future, Shui Bei said. I will definitely remember Senior's teachings. Jian Wushuang nodded solemnly. Jian Wushuang also deeply remembered Shui Bei's advice. In fact, even if Shui Bei did not mention it, Jian Wushuang's awe of this world had never disappeared. Moreover, the higher his strength increased, the greater the awe. Now, through his conversation with Shui Bei, he had a deeper understanding of this world. Jian Wushuang's awe of this world had reached an unprecedented level. Of course, what he feared was this world, but not the will of the heavenly Tao. The two were not the same thing. Well, I've given you what I needed to give and said what I needed to say. Let's go. Shui Bei waved his hand. Thank you, Senior. Jian Wushuang bowed deeply to Shui Bei, his heart filled with gratitude. Although Jian Wushuang had never taken Shui Bei as his master, Shui Bei had given him 4 opportunities and left everything to him. Jian Wushuang could be said to have obtained Shui Bei's mantle. Even if he did not acknowledge Shui Bei as his master, he could still be considered half a disciple. Jian Wushuang was naturally grateful. After taking a deep breath, Jian Wushuang followed Gu Lao out of the palace. After Jian Wushuang and Gu Lao left, the huge palace fell silent again. Shui Bei's consciousness avatar was still sitting on the throne, but his figure became more and more illusory and ethereal. Heavenly Sword Marquis, I can see that you have a great secret, which is far more than the heaven and earth. Your ambition and space for growth are beyond my imagination, so I didn't even think of taking you as a disciple. Although I don't know where you came from and what your real purpose is, at least you have my mantle. I hope you can fulfill your ambition and achieve your purpose in the future. His mumbling slowly echoed in the palace, but his voice sounded quite desolate. After leaving the huge palace, Elder Gu brought Jian Wushuang to the cemetery. There were a lot of stone coffins in the cemetery. The bodies lying in the coffins were once famous experts. Heavenly Sword Marquis, Master has promised that you can dispose of the bodies here, but only if you can take them away yourself, Elder Gu said. Okay. Jian Wushuang nodded slightly and looked at the many sarcophagi in front of him. The sarcophagi lay peacefully in the cemetery. At first glance, the entire cemetery seemed very calm. However, Jian Wushuang knew very well that the experts in the sarcophagi had remnant willpower on their bodies. Back then, Jian Wushuang was only a divine master. He had joined hands with several great divine masters to break into the cemetery. When he first saw the sarcophagi, he wanted to get close to them. The sarcophagi contained a powerful will, which made it impossible for them to get any closer. At that time, the will was too strong for him to resist, but now it was different. Let's try it first. Jian Wushuang walked toward one of the sarcophagi with a hint of anticipation. Inside the sarcophagi lay a woman. The woman was slender, more than 2 meters tall, and wore a white robe. Although she was dead and her eyes were closed, she still gave off an extremely holy and extraordinary aura. She was like a saintess. The reason why Jian Wushuang chose this woman was that when he first came to the sarcophagus, there was a low shout from the woman's corpse. Now, Jian Wushuang was approaching her again. Get lost! A low shout suddenly exploded in Jian Wushuang's ear, just like the low shout from before. The low shout was accompanied by extremely strong willpower, trying to stop Jian Wushuang's steps. Yes, you are indeed an invincible existence among the immortal saints. Even after so many years of death, the remnant willpower is still extraordinary. If I were an ordinary first-rank true saint, I'm afraid I would be hindered by your willpower. I can't do anything to you. Jian Wushuang smiled faintly. He continued to move forward. 1 step, 2 steps, 3 steps. He was getting closer and closer to the sarcophagus where the white-robed woman was, and the power of the will that was blocking him was getting stronger and stronger. Get lost. If you don't get lost, you'll die. The low voice was getting stronger and stronger, and it was getting crazier and crazier. What a joke. Jian Wushuang smiled disdainfully. He gathered his divine power and a powerful divine power aura swept out. His steps became faster and faster, and in the blink of an eye he was in front of the sarcophagus. "What do you want to do?" the white-robed woman shouted in a low voice, but her voice was clearly a little panicked. Jian Wushuang glanced at the white-robed woman in the sarcophagus and his face darkened. "No wonder you can shout in a low voice. It turns out that apart from the power of will, there is still a trace of consciousness left. However, a mere remnant of consciousness wants to obstruct me." "How ridiculous!" Jian Wushuang attacked directly. He waved his hand, and a terrifying divine power passed through the sarcophagus to the white-robed woman's body. The white-robed woman's body was not affected, but the trace of consciousness hidden in the body was destroyed by the divine power. Buzz! The sarcophagus completely calmed down, and the remaining power of the white-robed woman's will was directly shattered by Jian Wushuang. With a wave of his hand, Jian Wushuang put the white-robed woman's body and the sarcophagus into his interspatial ring. The process is very easy. It seems that the power of the immortal saints can't do anything to me. If I want, I can take away all the immortal saints' bodies in this cemetery, Jian Wushuang thought. However, although he needed the bodies of experts to carry his Emperor's Order clone, with his current strength, he could only condense one Emperor's Order clone. He only needed one body, even if there were mistakes in the refining process, 2 or 3 corpses were enough. It was useless for him to keep so many corpses. Most importantly, what Jian Wushuang really wanted was not the corpses of the immortal saints, but the 230-meter-long sarcophagi at the front of the cemetery. The 230-meter-long sarcophagi were the 2 principals masters. Principals masters were much more powerful than the immortal saints. Although Jian Wushuang was only a rank 1 true saint, his physique was too special. The divine power he possessed was enormous. It was a vast sea of divine power. Such enormous divine power had long exceeded the scope of an ordinary immortal saint. Even the immortal saints at the top, or even those who had reached the invincible level, the divine power they possessed was definitely not as much as Jian Wushuang's. Therefore, if Jian Wushuang wanted to use the corpses of the immortal saints in the cemetery to refine an emperor's life avatar, it was likely that the emperor's life avatar would not be able to bear all of his divine power. It was estimated that it could only bear 30 to 40% of his divine power, which was not what Jian Wushuang wanted. Jian Wushuang wanted to condense an emperor's life avatar that had the same divine power as his original body. Therefore, the best way was to obtain the corpse of a principal's master and use it as an emperor's life avatar to bear his divine power. "Let's try it first." With a hint of nervousness, Jian Wushuang slowly walked toward the 230-meter-long sarcophagi. He walked toward the first sarcophagus first, but just when he was 10 meters away from the sarcophagus. "Stop!" A gentle voice suddenly sounded. Although the figure was gentle, it carried an unquestionable pressure, as if what he said was the truth and could not be disobeyed. Jian Wushuang stopped in his tracks. It was not that he did not want to continue moving forward, but a huge force came from ahead and stopped him. What a strong will! It's at least 10 times stronger than the immortal saint's will. Jian Wushuang's eyes were filled with shock. The difference between the principal's master and the immortal saint was like the difference between heaven and earth. Although the many immortal saints in the cemetery stood at the top among the immortal saints when they were alive and could be said to be invincible, no matter how strong and invincible they were among the immortal saints, they were still far from being comparable to a real principal's master. Jian Wushuang could crush the power of the immortal saint's will by force. However, the will from the corpse of the principal's master was so strong that he could not crush it by force. My Emperor's Order clone must have the body of the principal's master as a carrier. I must get the body of the principal's master. Jian Wushuang clenched his hands and activated the star power in his body. Rumble! A large amount of golden divine power quickly condensed on Jian Wushuang's body. In the blink of an eye, it had formed a huge golden Emperor Phantom. The golden Emperor Phantom was so tall that it had long surpassed the height of the cemetery. A layer of dark gold armor also appeared on his body. The 3rd volume of the 7-star secret skill, the Punishment Divine Realm, and the 9 luminary star armor, the Heavenly Armor chapter, had all been used. Jian Wushuang's strength instantly rose to the top, and his aura also soared. Retreat! Jian Wushuang's eyes turned cold, and a surge of supreme sword essence suddenly swept out. This sword essence came from the supreme sword essence in the Blood Mountain sword. As Jian Wushuang's understanding of sword principle greatly improved, the boundless sword tree grew to a height of 99,000 feet, and the sword essence in the Blood Mountain sword that he could guide was even more amazing. Now he could guide almost 1/10 of the sword essence. With the support of this sword essence, Jian Wushuang's strength could reach a whole new level. Moreover, this sword essence was extremely fierce and dominated everything. The will that came from the corpse of the principal's master was also greatly impacted. Then Jian Wushuang slowly lifted his foot and took a step forward with great difficulty. This step had shaken the will of the principal's master. Then Jian Wushuang moved even faster. The will of the principal's master was no longer hindered. Finally, Jian Wushuang arrived in front of the sarcophagus. "I can't accept this," a mournful voice sounded, but the will on the body of the principal's master began to dissipate. Finally, it completely disappeared. Has it been defeated? Seeing that the sarcophagus had completely calmed down, Jian Wushuang heaved a sigh of relief. After a long while, he waved his hand and put the 30-meter-long sarcophagus and the body of the principal's master into his interspatial ring. After taking in the body of the principal's master, Jian Wushuang felt relieved. Then he looked at the second sarcophagus with the body of the principal's master. He also wanted to take the body of the second principal's master into his interspatial ring. However, when he approached the body of the principal's master, "Get out of my way or I'll die!" A cold shout suddenly exploded in Jian Wushuang's mind, making his head sink, and a trace of horror flashed in his eyes. He was dozens of meters away from the sarcophagus where the principal's master's body was, but no matter what he did, he could not get any closer. He could not even step forward again. The remaining will of the principal's master is much stronger than the one just now. Jian Wushuang was secretly shocked. The will of the principal's master just now was also very strong, but he managed to break it with all his skills. However, the will of the principal's master was not something he could shake. They are both principal's masters, but their strength is also different. The will of the principal's master is so strong, so his strength must be even more amazing when he was alive. Jian Wushuang murmured, feeling a little regretful. He wanted to take away the bodies of the two principal's masters, but it seemed that he could only take one at most. Well, one principal's master's body is enough. But just to be safe, I'll take a few more immortal saints' bodies. Jian Wushuang immediately began to work in the cemetery. The remnant wills of the immortal saints in the cemetery did not pose any obstruction to Jian Wushuang. He easily took 5 immortal saints' bodies and was ready to leave. Heavenly Sword Marquis, during the 100 years when you entered the Bodhi world to meditate, Master told me that if you reach the peak of the immortal saint or have already broken through to become a principal's master, you can come here again. After all, Master opened this secret realm when he was alive. After his death, this secret realm became ownerless. When you become a principal's master in the future, you must also open your own secret realm. You can come here and refine this secret realm directly. After refining it, you can use this secret realm as a reference to create your own secret realm. This will save you a lot of effort, Elder Gu said. Hearing Elder Gu's words, Jian Wushuang's eyes lit up again. "Thank you, Elder Gu," Jian Wushuang said gratefully. "You don't have to thank me. You should thank Master properly." Elder Gu waved his hand, and a space passage opened beside Jian Wushuang. "Go!" Jian Wushuang bowed to the deepest part of the secret realm, which was the palace where Shuebei was. Then he stepped into the space passage. Jian Wushuang stood calmly in the void outside. "I have entered this secret realm 3 times. Each time, I have obtained extraordinary opportunities, especially this time." Jian Wushuang sighed and felt quite happy. This was normal. After all, he had obtained too many benefits in this secret realm. I've already obtained the opportunities in this secret realm. In the future, unless I reach the level of a principal's master and open my own secret realm, I'm afraid I'll never come back here again. And then, in the treasure pavilion, a secret lair of the Heaven-Cleaving Alliance, Lord Sky Shuttle. Jian Wushuang stood in front of the golden light shadow Sky Shuttle. What do you need? Lord Sky Shuttle's voice was still cold and emotionless. I want to ask how many sacred elixirs are needed to exchange for the second volume of the gold-splitting secret manual, Jian Wushuang said. The gold-splitting secret manual had always been of great use to Jian Wushuang. The reason why Jian Wushuang had made such great progress in the spacetime principles and sword principle was related to the gold-splitting secret manual. However, there were 4 volumes of the gold-splitting secret manual. He had only obtained the first volume, which perfectly dissected the first and second stages of the spacetime principles. However, the third stage of the spacetime principles, the first volume of the gold-splitting secret manual, only dissected a part of it. He had only dissected a part of it, but he had not dissected a large part of it. Jian Wushuang's comprehension of the spacetime principles had reached the third stage. The first volume of the gold-splitting secret manual was obviously not enough to satisfy his needs, of course. He wanted to get the second volume of the gold-splitting secret manual. The second volume? Lord Tianshou looked at Jian Wushuang in surprise. Then he said, "The second volume, the gold-splitting secret manual, is indeed within the scope of authority of a heaven-level member, but it requires a total of 8 billion sacred elixirs." 8 billion? Jian Wushuang was shocked. Previously, the first volume of the gold-splitting secret manual was worth 800 million sacred elixirs. Now, the second volume required 8 billion sacred elixirs, which was a 10-fold increase. 8 billion sacred elixirs was an astronomical figure for him before. But now he had the gift from Shui, so he was confident. Moreover, the gold-splitting secret manual was very helpful to him, so it was definitely worth the price. "Sir Tianshou, I have a treasure here. I don't know how many sacred elixirs it can be exchanged for." Jian Wushuang flipped his hand and took out a universe crystal. At first, Sir Tianshua did not seem to care about it. However, when he saw what Jian Wushuang took out, his expression changed. Universe crystal. Sir Tianshua was indeed the treasure pavilion's weapon spirit. With just a glance, he had recognized the universe crystal. "You have a universe crystal? This can only be found in the universe battlefield. Sir Tianshua, how many sacred elixirs can I exchange for this universe crystal?" Jian Wushuang asked. Sir Tianshua gave Jian Wushuang a deep look. He did not ask how Jian Wushuang had obtained the universe crystal. Instead, he answered directly, "Universe crystals are very rare in the divine beginning world. Even among principles masters, very few are able to take out a universe crystal. Its uses are also very broad. Under normal circumstances, one universe crystal can be exchanged for billions of sacred elixirs. You are a heaven-grade member of the Heaven-Cleaving Alliance. With your authority as a heaven-grade member, I can exchange this universe crystal for 7.5 billion sacred elixirs." 7.5 billion? Jian Wushuang's eyes lit up. Previously, Shui had said that it would be no problem for one universe crystal to exchange for 5 billion sacred elixirs, which meant that universe crystals were worth more than 5 billion sacred elixirs. Now it seemed that it was true. One universe crystal can be exchanged for 7.5 billion sacred elixirs. If I add in the resources I obtained from the massacre in the Magic Note Divine Kingdom, I can directly gather 8 billion sacred elixirs. Jian Wushuang was pleasantly surprised. Shui gave him 10 universe crystals. However, he knew that universe crystals were extraordinary. Jian Wushuang would not exchange them for sacred elixirs unless it was absolutely necessary. Now, in order to get the second volume of the gold-splitting secret manual, he was willing to exchange for one. As for the second volume, he would not exchange for it if he could. "Sir Tianshua, there is an interspatial ring with many sacred elixirs and a lot of resources. Its value is definitely not less than 500 million sacred elixirs. With this universe crystal, I can get 8 billion sacred elixirs. I want to exchange for the second volume of the gold-splitting secret manual," Jian Wushuang said directly. Sir Tianshua took the interspatial ring and glanced at it briefly. Then he nodded slightly and said, "Sure. What else do you need?" "I also need a file about the third heaven," Jian Wushuang said again. An hour later, in the hall of the secret lair, Jian Wushuang, who was wearing a gray robe and a gray mask, sat in front of a table. In his hand, he was carefully reading a file. There was a basic introduction to the third heaven, as well as a specific way to get to the third heaven from his current territory. According to this document, there are 3 ways to get to the third heaven from the endless territory, Jian Wushuang murmured. The first of the 3 ways was to travel alone. There was a detailed star map of the territory and some spatial passages that could be used as transit. However, the territories near the 9 realms of the Golden Crow were all remote in the endless territories. The geographical location was also very far from the third sky. If a true saint traveled by foot alone, it would take tens of thousands of years to reach the third sky. Even if there were some transit space passages in the middle that could reduce a lot of time, it would still take hundreds of years at the very least. Using this path to reach the third sky would cost the least, but it would be the most troublesome. The second path was to directly go through the wormhole and reach the endless territories. The Heaven-Cleaving Alliance was one of the 3 freedom alliances in the Divine Beginning realm. Moreover, it was the most powerful one. Its influence spread to every corner of the Divine Beginning realm. Every secret lair of the Heaven-Cleaving Alliance had a space passage leading to the third sky. Through this space passage, one could reach the third heaven from the endless territory in less than 15 minutes. However, although this path was the fastest and simplest, the cost was the greatest. After all, the farther the distance, the more expensive it would be to teleport. For example, Jian Wushuang usually had to pay a great price to travel from one territory to another in order to complete the tasks of the Heaven-Cleaving Alliance, and that was only for the close distance. If he was far away, even in the endless territory, he would have to spend tens of millions or even hundreds of millions of sacred elixirs to teleport. This was the case in the endless territory alone, and it was even more expensive to teleport from the endless territory to the third heaven. It would cost a total of 2 billion sacred elixirs. 2 billion sacred elixirs? Although Jian Wushuang still had a total of 9 universe crystals on hand, and any one of them could be exchanged for 7.5 billion sacred elixirs, he did not want to exchange them easily. Moreover, 2 billion sacred elixirs were too high a price for single teleportation, so this path was also rejected by Jian Wushuang. In this case, there was only one last path left. The third path was a compromise between the first 2 paths. First, they had to spend 100 million sacred pills to reach the edge of the endless territories through the spatial passage. Then, they had to rely on their own strength to pass through the region of bones. As long as they passed through the region of bones, they would be in the range of the third heaven. According to the information, the bone region was a place where all kinds of people gathered. It was chaotic and full of killing intent. I just became an immortal saint not long ago, and I just created the Wushuang sword manual. Now, I need to practice my swordsmanship in a lot of battles. Experts in the bone region are everywhere, and there are many of them. Before I step into the third heaven, I can go there to practice. Jian Wushuang's eyes focused. He had already made up his mind. 10 days later, someone handed the second volume to Jian Wushuang. Just like the first volume, the second volume was still a detailed dissection of the spacetime principles, but it was more than the third stage of the spacetime principles, and even included part of the fourth stage. This was naturally very useful to Jian Wushuang. My comprehension of the spacetime principles has just reached the third stage. This is already the comprehension level of many rank 4 true saints, and the limit of the third stage is estimated that many rank 6 true saints can't reach it. Those who can reach that level must be those rank 7 true saints who have already reached the peak. As for the fourth stage of the spacetime principles, the fourth stage, mastering teleportation, that level was even more profound. According to Jian Wushuang's guess, the one who could master teleportation was definitely the top immortal saint. He was even invincible among the immortal saints. In other words, the second volume of the spacetime principles should be enough for him to comprehend at the level of the immortal saint. After obtaining the second volume of the gold-splitting secret manual, Jian Wushuang did not delay in the endless territory. Instead, he directly set off and rushed toward the third heaven. Buzz! With a burst of dazzling light, Jian Wushuang appeared on a very strange island. There was also a secret lair of the Heaven-Cleaving Alliance on this island. Is this the edge of the endless territory? That direction should be where the bone region is. Jian Wushuang stood on the island, looking at the distant void. Soon he set off. The White Bone region was the closest territory to the third heaven. There was endless killing here. For many people it was a paradise but also a hell. Because of their yearning for the third heaven, many experts from the endless territory were left here forever on their way through the White Bone region. This territory could be said to be a test that the cultivators of the endless territory had to pass before entering the third heaven. 3 days later, in a vast void, whoosh, 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 a team of more than 10 people was rapidly flying through the void. These 10 people all wore different clothes, but the auras they emitted were all extremely powerful. These 10 people were all immortal saints, but most of them were only at the false saint level. As for true saints, there were only 2 people on this team. Brother Heavenly Marquis, you must be new to the third heaven from the endless territory, right? A burst of hearty laughter came from the side. The speaker was a slightly fat, bald youth. The bald youth carried a saber on his back. It was a blood saber, exuding an astonishing murderous aura. Yes, what about you? Jian Wushuang replied with a smile. Of course it's my first time too. The bald youth smiled. Actually, I've wanted to go to the third heaven for a long time, but something happened in my hometown, so I was delayed for a while. By the way, which territory is your hometown in? The 9 realms of the Golden Crow, Jian Wushuang replied. The 9 realms of the Golden Crow? I've never heard of it. The bald youth shook his head. My hometown is the 9 Seas Star Kingdom, the great divine kingdom created by a rank 5 true saint. 9 Seas Star Kingdom? Jian Wushuang's expression changed. He had actually heard of the 9 Seas Star Kingdom. It was one of the most powerful divine kingdoms in the endless territories. The king of the 9 seas had long reached the peak of the rank 5 true saint realm, and his battle strength was even close to that of a rank 6 true saint. In the endless territories, he was definitely a supreme super expert. 3 days ago, Jian Wushuang joined this team and passed through the Bone region together with many immortal saints who were heading to the third heaven. This bald young man was called Jiuluo, the only true saint in the team besides him. They were the only 2 true saints in the team, and Jiuluo was a very enthusiastic person, so he naturally chatted with Jian Wushuang. Jian Wushuang had nothing to do anyway, so he did not dislike Jiuluo. The third heaven. I heard from my master that as the true core of the divine beginning world, there are many experts there. True saints like us are definitely top experts in the endless territories, but they are everywhere in the third heaven. Even some of the 5th and 6th level true saints are very low-key in the third heaven. They don't dare to be too presumptuous because they might offend some of the real experts and kill them directly, Jiuluo explained. You seem to be very good at the third heaven? Jian Wushuang looked at him. Of course, Jiuluo said. But before we reach the third heaven, we have to go through the White Bone field. It's very dangerous here. Oh, Jian Wushuang looked very strange. Jiuluo seemed to be talking casually with him, but Jian Wushuang could hear a lot of information from his words. The most important thing was that Jiuluo was not ordinary. He was definitely not an ordinary first-rank true saint, but at least he had some background. At this moment, buzz buzz. A strong divine power aura suddenly came from the void in front of them. Well, Jian Wushuang, Jiuluo, and more than a dozen false saints in the team all looked up. As soon as they looked up, they saw more than a dozen figures rushing toward them. There were 15 of them, 11 of whom were fleeing crazily in front, while the other 4 were chasing after them. The 4 chasing after them were true saints, while the 11 people fleeing were only false saints. Facing the pursuit of the 4 true saints, these false saints could not resist at all and could only flee. Ha ha! If you want to run, where can you run to? Hearty laughter reverberated in the air. The 4 true saints were extremely fast and easily caught up to the fleeing people. Then they began to kill. No! Spare me! Why? We've never provoked you before. We don't have any grudges. Shrill screams sounded one after another. Haha, it's true that you don't have any grudges against us, but it's a pity that your luck is too bad. You just happened to run into the founding of the Blood Evil sect, and the Blood Evil sect has already spread the word that level 1 true saints like us can join the Blood Evil sect as long as we can kill 20 immortal saints in a specific area around us. So, if you want to blame someone, Blame yourself for staying in this particular area and fulfilling the blood evil sex conditions. The hearty laughter continued to reverberate in the world. The 11 false saints were completely in despair. They finally understood why the 4 true saints did not hesitate to attack the moment they saw them. It turned out that it was because of the blood evil sect. Although these false saints had some strength, they were far inferior to true saints. Moreover, false saints did not even have an immortal body, so their life-saving abilities were ordinary. They could not escape from the pursuit of these 4 true saints. It's over. No! Amidst the shrill screams, the 11 false saints were killed in just a moment. This happened in front of Jian Wushuang's team. Jian Wushuang, Jiluo, and the false saints behind them all saw it clearly. When they saw the 4 true saints kill all the 11 false saints, the false saints in the team were filled with fear. At this time, the 4 true saints also looked at Jian Wushuang's team. There's still a target here. Their eyes were extremely cold. One of them, a middle-aged man in a purple robe, had a cold smile on his face. There are 12 people in total. 10 of them are false saints. As for true saints, there are only 2 of them. Judging from their young appearances, they should not be very strong. The other 3 true saints also looked at each other in dismay. Although they did not speak, their eyes flashed with a strange look, and they had already begun to communicate. Suddenly, kill! The purple-robed middle-aged man was the first to let out a low shout. His body shot toward Jian Wushuang's team like a cannonball. Kill them all! The other 3 true saints also rushed out with shocking killing intent. Like the 11 false saints they had killed, they also treated Jian Wushuang's team as prey and attacked them without saying anything. Seeing this, the false saints in Jian Wushuang's team were all shocked. They had seen with their own eyes how easily the 4 people had killed the 11 false saints. Now that the 4 people were coming to kill them, how could they not be terrified? However, at the moment when the 4 people attacked, "You're courting death!" a low shout suddenly sounded in the world. The person who shouted was Jiluo, who was standing next to Jian Wushuang. Jiluo had been smiling for the past 3 days, but now, when he was angry, his face was as cold as ice. Boom! A powerful aura suddenly erupted like a volcano that had been silent for hundreds of millions of years. Jiluo suddenly rushed forward, and the blood-red saber on his back was also unsheathed. Whoosh! A demonic blood-red saber light appeared out of thin air and pierced through the void. It seemed as if the entire world had been split apart by this blood-red saber light. The surrounding void also became completely dark. Under the endless darkness, this blood-red saber light was very dazzling and even very intoxicating. This saber. Seeing Jiuluo's saber move, Jian Wushuang was also stunned. He could instantly tell that the power of the move was extraordinary. The principle's power contained in it was extremely rich. Jiuluo's comprehension of the principles was very high, so he must be very powerful among the rank 3 true saints. His saber technique was also very powerful, so he must have used a rank 3 absolute art. As for the power of divine power, Jiuluo's divine power had reached the limit of a rank 1 true saint. It was almost close to that of a rank 2 true saint. When all these things were combined, Jian Wushuang was sure that Jiuluo's battle strength was comparable to a rank 2 true saint, or even very strong among rank 2 true saints. This guy is actually a genius, Jian Wushuang could not help but say. Jian Wushuang was strong and knowledgeable, so he could see Jiuluo's specific battle strength at a glance. However, the 4 true saints who came directly at him did not have as good an eye as he did. The 4 true saints did not pay much attention to Jiuluo's attack until the saber light landed. Hua! The saber light carried an earth-shaking power as it flew past the purple-robed middle-aged man. The middle-aged man opened his eyes wide, but his head was thrown away. Jiuluo's body burst out again. Swoosh! 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 3 blood-red saber lights slashed out at the same time. In just one move, the god body of the second true saint, the cold old man with an evil aura, was destroyed. The other 2 people who were rushing forward were scared, squatting there. The 4 rank 1 true saints attacked at the same time. In just a blink of an eye, 2 of their god bodies were destroyed by Jiuluo. Most importantly, They did not use their divine bodies to rebuild their divine bodies in the first place. To be exact, they wanted to rebuild their divine bodies, but unfortunately, they did not have the ability. Poison. Jian Wushuang, who was standing behind them, raised his eyebrows when he saw this scene. He had prepared a lot of god-burning poison to better kill the true saints in the magic note divine kingdom. Although the poison was expensive, it was very cost-effective. Under normal circumstances, it only took 2 or 3 drops of god-burning poison to kill a rank 1 true saint, rendering his immortal body useless. However, Jian Wushuang was clearly not the only one in the world who would do this. Many experts would choose to carry some poison that could corrode their divine bodies, specifically to kill those true saints with immortal bodies. However, such experts needed a certain background. After all, a treasure like the god-burning poison was not only expensive but also unavailable to ordinary experts. Jian Wushuang was also a heaven-grade member of the Heaven-Cleaving Alliance, so he could exchange for the god-burning poison from the treasure pavilion. Now, Jiluo had easily destroyed the divine bodies of the 2 true saints with his saber light, but the 2 true saints could not have enough divine bodies and died immediately. It was obvious that he had smeared the poison on his saber. However, what Jiluo had used was not the god-burning poison, but a different type. In the sky, the purple-robed middle-aged man and the sinister-looking old man had both died directly after their divine bodies had collapsed. The remaining 2 looked at each other with a trace of shock in their eyes, and they did not dare to stop for even a moment. They directly turned around and fled. 2 of the 4 rank 1 true saints were killed and 2 fled in the blink of an eye. When the other 2 fled far away, Jiluo put his blood-red saber back into its scabbard with a smug smile on his face. "Brother Heavenly Marquis, how is it?" Jiluo looked at Jian Wushuang. "Impressive." Jian Wushuang gave Jiluo a thumbs up. He was not lying. Jiluo was also a rank 1 true saint, but he had killed 2 experts of the same level in the blink of an eye. His strength was indeed extraordinary. Although he was still inferior to the monsters in the heaven-cleaving 3 palaces, he was still a real genius. Lord Jiluo. The false saints in the group immediately walked over. "We thank Lord Jiluo for helping us. If Lord Jiluo hadn't sent those 4 away, I'm afraid those 4 would have slaughtered us as well." "That's right. Those 4 are true saints." Previously, slaughtering 11 false saints was as easy as playing around. Slaughtering us would definitely be very easy. "Thank you, Lord Jiluo. You saved our lives." The false saints were all extremely grateful. Jiluo just smiled casually and did not care about it. "Right, why did those 4 kill us?" someone suddenly asked. From their conversation, it seems that there is a sect called the Blood Evil Sect nearby. And the way they recruit experts is to let those experts kill the immortal saints in the specific territories around them. Only after killing 20 immortal saints can they become a member of the Blood Evil Sect. Bastard! We have no enmity with the Blood Evil Sect. How dare they send people to hunt us down? Isn't that right? The team was a little angry, but there was nothing they could do no matter how angry they were. In the end, they could only sigh in their hearts. I've long heard that the Bone region is extremely chaotic. There are all kinds of killings everywhere. It seems that it's true. Jian Wushuang sighed in his heart. The Blood Evil Sect doesn't sound like a benevolent sect. They open the mountain to recruit experts, but they actually ask these experts to compete in the number of immortal saints around them. Let's continue to set off, but we have to be careful. According to the 4 people just now, there should be many people wandering around this area trying to kill us, Jiluo said. Everyone nodded and immediately continued on their journey. This encounter made everyone in the group even more cautious. However, Jiluo had also displayed astonishing strength during this encounter. The false saints in the group felt much more at ease when they thought about having such an expert in their group. This was a huge mountain range. The mountain range was endless. At the bottom of one of the mountains there was a group of buildings. Within this group of buildings, there were many concealed and extremely powerful auras. In the air near the mountain range, 3 human figures were gathered there. These 3 people, 2 men and 1 woman, all emitted auras that had reached the 1st level true saint level. That group of buildings is one of the Blood Crow's strongholds? A deep voice came from the mouth of the muscular man who was over 2 meters tall and looked like a mountain. The muscular man was half naked. His thick arms and muscles were exposed, and his hands were wearing a pair of blood-red golden-rimmed gloves. The aura coming from the blood-red golden-rimmed gloves was also very powerful. It was an incomparably powerful sacred treasure. "It's here." A black-haired devilish youth beside him revealed a devilish smile. "The three of us came out together to carry out this mission. It's been almost 3 years now. The first 3 ring missions have taken us quite a bit of effort, and now we're only missing the last ring mission. The sooner we complete this mission, the sooner we'll return and report back." "Okay." The mountain-like muscular man nodded. "Mirage water, check carefully first. Make sure that the experts in this stronghold are the same as the information we've got." The one called Mirage Water was the only woman among the 3. She wore a white robe and her expression was cold. Although she was not absolutely beautiful, she was quite beautiful. After hearing the muscular man's words, Mirage Water nodded slightly. Immediately, a vast and mighty spiritual force covered the mountain in front of them. A short moment later, "We have investigated clearly. There are over 30 true saints in this stronghold. There are a total of 4 rank 3 true saints, 8 rank 2 true saints, and the rest are all rank 1 true saints. The 3 rank 3 true saints that we are going to kill are all in this stronghold," Mirage Water said. Hearing these words, the muscular man's expression sank. "According to the information we obtained previously, there should only be 3 rank 3 true saints in this stronghold. Now that there are 4 of them, it's a little troublesome to have 1 more." It was indeed a little troublesome. The lineup of this stronghold was already extremely tyrannical. Now that there was another rank 3 true saint, there were 4 rank 3 true saints staying there. If the 3 of them wanted to make a move, there would be a certain level of risk. "What should we do?" "Don't tell me we should wait here and wait for that rank 3 true saint to leave," the demonic youth said. "Wait. It's not that you don't know what the Blood Crow organization does. They rarely go out and move about. Most of the time, they stay in their nest or stronghold. If we foolishly wait here until they come out, how long will it take?" The muscular man's voice was low. "There's nothing we can do. We can only give it our all. Mirage Water, if your methods are a little strange, then it'll be a little more difficult for you. At the start, you'll have to deal with the 2 rank 3 true saints while the Evil Master and I will deal with 1 rank 3 true saint each. We'll think of a way to kill the 2 rank 3 true saints in the shortest amount of time and then come back to help you kill the other 2. No problem, right?" The muscular man stared at the demonic young man, Evil Master, and Mirage Water. The 2 of them looked at each other and then nodded. The 3 of them instantly came to an agreement. But if outsiders were to hear their conversation, they would definitely be shocked. One had to know that the 3 of them were only rank 1 true saints, and they were threatening to kill a rank 3 true saint. Moreover, there were not only 4 rank 3 true saints in the stronghold, there were also 8 rank 2 true saints and a dozen rank 1 true saints. However, when the 3 of them were assigning their targets, they did not even mention these rank 2 and rank 1 true saints. It was as if these rank 1 and rank 2 true saints were like air to them. They would not pose any obstruction to them. "Let's do it." The muscular man's gaze focused as he took out a scarlet pearl of light. The scarlet light instantly covered the sky and earth, covering the mountain range in front of them and the surrounding area. A huge restriction had already taken shape. In the void, Jian Wushuang and Jiuluo's team were still moving forward. While they were moving forward, they could hear the compliments of the false saints behind them from time to time. "Lord Jiuluo, your strength is too strong." "Exactly. You killed 2 rank 1 true saints in a short time. Just now, a few more true saints came and were even stronger, but Lord Jiuluo still defeated them by himself. We're so lucky to be able to follow Lord Jiuluo. Now we can pass through the bone region safely." Some of these voices were whispered, while others were deliberately heard by Jiuluo. Jiuluo just smiled faintly. There was nothing to be proud of. Naturally, Jian Wushuang's expression did not change. But at this moment, buzz buzz, the blood-red light covered the heaven and earth, covering Jian Wushuang's team. "What is this?" Is it a restriction? Who used the restriction to seal this area? The false saints in the team immediately became restless. Jian Wushuang's eyes could not help focusing. Brother Heavenly Marquis, you have noticed that this restriction is not only very powerful, but it also seems to be isolated from the outside world. Inside the restriction, there is no way to communicate with the outside world, Zhou said with a hint of solemnity in his voice. Indeed, but I don't know who activated this restriction. Is it coming for us, or… Jian Wushuang did not finish his words. Boom! A violent boom suddenly came from the void in front of them. The boom was unusually strong, followed by boom, 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 boom. The sound of violent energy collision, accompanied by a large amount of violent divine power aura, also came from the front. This is… Jian Wushuang immediately looked toward the source of the sound. There are people fighting there. Zhuluo's expression also changed. It seems that the surrounding restrictions were triggered by the people fighting in front. Judging from the sound, the battlefield is in front and close to us. Yes. Jian Wushuang nodded. He could also see it. Brother Heavenly Marquis, should we go and take a look? Zhuluo suddenly said with a hint of excitement. Jian Wushuang's eyes moved, but he nodded with a smile. Since we are trapped in this restriction, of course we should go and take a look. Haha. Let's go. Zhuluo and Jian Wushuang set off directly. As for the false saints in the team, although they felt that the battlefield ahead was unusual, they still followed. To be exact, they wanted to follow Zhuluo. In just a moment, Jian Wushuang and Zhuluo had arrived near the battlefield. They stood side by side and looked up at the battle in the mountain range in front of them. However, when they looked up, their expressions became unusually interesting. The battle in the mountain range was unusually fierce. They could see at a glance that one side was all in black clothes with a vivid blood-red crow embedded on the back. It was obvious that they were from the same organization or faction. There were more than 20 people, and most of them had reached the true saint level. There were 4 rank 3 true saints among them. As for the other side, there were only 3 people, and the auras they gave off were all rank 1 true saints. Black-clothed, blood-colored crow? Blood Crow? It's the Blood Crow organization. Zhuluo could not help but shout. Blood Crow organization? Zhuluo, do you know about it? Jian Wushuang looked over. Of course, I've heard that the Bone region is very chaotic and dangerous, and there are lots of killings. So on the way from the Endless Territory to the Bone region, I've carefully browsed through the information in the Bone region. There are countless forces and sects in the Bone region, and most of them are not good people. Many sects are very vicious and evil. The Blood Evil sect we met before is one of them. Although the Blood Evil sect is quite famous in the White Bone region, it's not even a first-rate sect. At most, it can only be considered a second-rate sect. There are only a dozen or so first-rate sects or forces in the White Bone region. Other than that, the White Bone region also has 2 giants. One of them is a sect, and the other one is the Blood Crow organization. If I'm not mistaken, this mountain range should be one of the strongholds of the Blood Crow organization in the White Bone region. How dare those 3 intrude into the stronghold of the Blood Crow organization? Zhuluo's voice was filled with a trace of shock. However, Jian Wushuang's voice sank. No, they are not bold. They are really powerful. Zhuluo was stunned, but his eyes widened. Not only him but the false saints behind him were also stunned when they saw the scene in front of them. More than 20 true saint experts of the Blood Crow organization were crazily surrounding and killing the 3 people. The 4 rank 3 true saints had already attacked, but in the end, boom! The burly man, who was over 2 meters tall and looked like a small mountain, waved the fist in his hand. His fist wore a blood-colored golden-edged glove, and for a moment, it turned into a huge sun that carried the power of thunder and lightning. It directly smashed towards the rank 3 true saint in front of him. The rank 3 true saint also waved his blade with all his strength, wanting to block. But in the end, a loud bang rang out, and the rank 3 true saint's body shook violently. He spat out a mouthful of blood, and his body also retreated explosively. The demonic young man brandished a purple spear. His figure was strange. leaving behind purple phantoms as he swung his spear. Shwa! 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 He stabbed out rapidly. Fast. Too fast. That spear technique was as fast as lightning. It was so fast that even the rank 3 true saint who was fighting with him could not keep up with it. Even though he had all his strength, he could not use it at all. He was completely suppressed by the demonic young man's spear technique, and he was forced to retreat. The strangest and most terrifying was the white-robed woman. The white-robed woman clearly did not do anything, but the 2 rank 3 true saints in front of her were stunned in the air. They did not move at all. If one looked closely, one would notice that the eyes of these 2 rank 3 true saints were somewhat hollow. Clearly, they were completely immersed in the illusion. The white-robed woman was holding back the 2 rank 3 true saints. The second and first level true saints of the Blood Crow organization also tried to rush up and attack the white-robed woman, but the white-robed woman only glanced at them. Even with this glance, all the rank 1 true saints and rank 2 true saints who were swept by her gaze would have their divine bodies fall down without a sound, and their breath would be completely cut off. They could not even use their immortal bodies because their souls had already been directly killed. How is this possible? This is too strong. Are they really only rank 1 true saints? The false saints in Jian Wushuang's team all had incredulous expressions. They were indeed incredulous. A rank 1 true saint punched a rank 3 true saint until he vomited blood? A rank 1 true saint relied on speed to suppress a rank 3 true saint and force him to retreat? A rank 1 true saint was able to kill a rank 1 true saint and a rank 2 true saint with a single glance, and he was able to restrain 2 rank 3 true saints by himself? Genius. This is a true super genius. Zhiluo's eyes were burning. He was a genius as well. However, as a genius, he was far inferior to the 3 people in front of him. Any one of them could easily suppress a rank 3 true saint, but he would have to flee for his life if he encountered a rank 3 true saint. What's going on? Why did these 3 geniuses attack the stronghold of the Blood Crow organization? Zhiluo asked in puzzlement. Jian Wushuang also frowned. Each of these 3 people is a true genius. They are stronger than Shui Yu and Chen Chun from the Heaven and Earth Palace. It's hard to meet such a genius, but there are 3 of them here at the same time. Jian Wushuang thought quickly. He immediately guessed that the 3 geniuses must be from the same force. As for the Blood Crow organization's stronghold, they were probably on a special mission. Ha! Jian Wushuang raised his head. On the battlefield, the evil-looking young man who was crazily suppressing a rank 3 true saint with a purple spear suddenly burst out. His spear skill was originally astonishingly fast, but in this instant, his spear skill suddenly increased by 3 times. A dazzling purple light instantly pierced through the void, leaving the rank 3 true saint with no time to react. Chi! This purple light directly pierced through the throat of the rank 3 true saint, and then a destructive power exploded. The rank 3 true saint did not even have time to scream before his divine body was destroyed. Seeing this scene, the demonic youth smiled strangely and then charged to the side. He's dead. A rank 3 true saint was killed just like that? This is too terrifying. Besides, didn't a rank 3 true saint master an immortal body? How could he die without using his immortal body? The false saints in Jian Wushuang's team burst into an uproar when they saw this scene. It's poison. The evil-looking young man's spear has been infused with a special poison. It's a kind of purple poison. Zhiluo narrowed his eyes. It's the devil star poison. Jian Wushuang's voice was solemn. Jian Wushuang had some knowledge of some poisons that could destroy divine power and kill true saint experts more easily. For example, the god-burning poison he used before was one of them. Although the god-burning poison was famous, it was only useful for some rank 1 and 2 true saints. At the rank 3 true saint realm, the divine power was purer and stronger, so the effect of the god-burning poison was negligible. As for the devil star poison, it was much more famous than the god-burning poison, so its value was naturally higher. With Jian Wushuang's permission as a heaven-level member, he could get 1 drop of the god-burning poison for 300,000 sacred elixirs in the treasure pavilion of the Heaven-Cleaving Alliance. However, the Devil Star poison, which he could get as a heaven-level member, cost 5 million sacred elixirs for 1 drop. There was a difference of more than 10 times between 300,000 sacred elixirs per drop and 5 million sacred elixirs per drop. For example, the evil-looking young man had killed the rank 3 true saint with only 1 drop of the Devil Star venom. They are so talented that they could kill a true saint with 5 million sacred elixirs per drop of the Devil Star venom. Their backgrounds, Jian Wushuang said with a serious expression. Although there were many experts of the Blood Crow organization on the battlefield, the only ones who could pose a threat to the 3 were the 4 rank 3 true saints. However, one of them was killed by the demonic young man on the spot, and the second rank 3 true saint was also in danger under the crazy attack of the muscular man. Boom! The muscular man threw a punch and smashed the head of the rank 3 true saint who was fighting with him like a meteorite. The head of the 3rd rank true saint exploded on the spot. Evil Master! The muscular man shouted. Coming! The rank 3 true saint who had just killed his opponent laughed loudly and appeared next to the muscular man. The moment the divine body of the rank 3 true saint in front of him started to fill up, Hua! He stabbed out with his spear. The tip of the spear only touched the divine body of the rank 3 true saint, and the rank 3 true saint immediately started to die. The second rank 3 true saint was killed. Next, the muscular man and the bewitching youth attacked again. The 3 true saints who were immersed in the white-robed woman's environment did not survive either. In just a short moment, the 4 rank 3 true saints were all killed. As for the rank 1 and 2 true saints, they were also crazily slaughtered by these 3. Because they were covered by the scarlet restriction, these rank 1 and rank 2 true saints had no chance of escaping. In the end, they were all killed. All of this was clearly seen by Jian Wushuang and Zhiluo's team. Amazing! This is a true genius. Just 3 rank 1 true saints destroyed a stronghold of the Blood Crow organization and killed all the experts in the stronghold. They are so powerful. The false saints in the team could not help exclaiming in surprise. But at this time, the muscular man, the evil-looking young man, and the white-robed woman had gathered together. Huan Shui and the evil master. The muscular man looked at the 2 people in front of him and said, "It seems that everything is going well." Everything is going well? Not necessarily. The evil-looking young evil master had a strange look on his face, and his evil eyes looked toward the void to the side. The evil master was looking in the direction of Jian Wushuang's team. The muscular man and the white-robed woman, Huan Shui, also looked at Jian Wushuang and the others. Whoosh! 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 3 figures rushed over and arrived in front of Jian Wushuang and the others in an instant. Zhiluo and the others were shocked. Zhiluo took a deep breath and then said, "We are just passing by. We don't mean any harm." "I know." The muscular man nodded slightly. He could see that Jian Wushuang's team was just passing by, and they were sealed in this area by their restriction. But even if they were just passing by, Jian Wushuang and the others still saw with their own eyes that they destroyed the stronghold of the Blood Crow organization. "Mirage Water, Evil Master, what do you think?" the muscular man asked. "This is the Whitebone region, and the Blood Crow organization is one of the overlords here. The 3 of us have destroyed one of their strongholds, and this is no longer just a provocation to the Blood Crow organization, but a slap in the face. Once the Blood Crow organization finds out about this, they will immediately send their experts to kill the 3 of us. It is because of this that we specially sealed off this region with a restriction to prevent the news from leaking out. But these people saw what happened just now. Once they spread the news, it will be very difficult for the 3 of us to leave the Bone region safely. So, I suggest that we kill all of them," the young evil master said directly. The evil master did not deliberately suppress his voice, and his words were clearly heard by Jian Wushuang and the others. Immediately, the false saints in Jian Wushuang's team turned pale with fright and became nervous. "Gentlemen, we are indeed just passing by, and we promise that we will not spread the news of today's event. We hope that you can show mercy," Zhiluo said. Zhiluo was usually careless, but he was very sensible. When it was time to lower his head, he knew to lower it. "Guarantee? What's the use of just empty words?" The evil master laughed mockingly. "Enough!" The burly man waved his hand and then turned to look at the silent Mirage Water. Mirage Water, with your research on the soul, you should be able to directly access part of the other party's memories, right? If they don't resist, it's fine, Mirage Water said. That's good, the burly man said in a deep voice. It is true that the three of you do not have any enmity with us. However, you have seen something that you should not have seen today. For the sake of safety, the three of us should have killed all of you. However, I can give all of you a chance now. All of you should give up resisting. I will get Mirage Water to erase the portion of your memories that you have just seen. After that, all of you can leave. Erase their memories? Joluo and the rest were shocked, but they immediately heaved a sigh of relief. Mountain King, you are really merciful. The evil master glanced at the burly man and did not say anything. Mirage Water, go ahead, the burly man Mountain King said. Mirage Water nodded and prepared to go forward. Sorry, I refuse, an indifferent voice suddenly sounded. In an instant, everyone looked at the source of the voice. The one who said this was Jian Wushuang, who had been standing silently by the side. What did you just say? Mountain King stared at Jian Wushuang with an invisible pressure. Facing this pressure, Jian Wushuang was calm and natural. I used to know soul attacks, so I know some things about the soul. Under normal circumstances, an expert who is good at soul attacks wants to erase a person's memory, which is equivalent to reading all the memories of that person. I don't want others to see some things, so I refuse. Upon hearing Jian Wushuang's words, Mountain King's expression turned cold. Brother Heavenly Marquis, Joluo said anxiously, it's true that erasing your memory means that you will search through your own memory. It's normal that you don't want others to know about your secrets, but you have to save your life first. Nothing is more important than your own life. That's right. Lord Heavenly Marquis, don't be rash. The false saints at the back also spoke. Jian Wushuang smiled. My life is important, but there are things more important than my own life in this world. If I don't resist and let them erase my memory, not only will all my secrets be spied on, but my life will also be in their hands. I don't like the feeling that my life and death are in their hands. Besides, these three are not qualified to make me wait for my death. Joluo and the others were shocked. Jian Wushuang's words clearly offended the three geniuses. Sure enough, except for Mirage Water, the other two geniuses' expressions changed. Mountain King, you are indeed merciful today, but unfortunately, some people still don't appreciate your kindness. The demonic young evil master said with a strange smile. Well, Mountain King nodded slightly. In that case, let's kill him, Mirage Water. As soon as Mountain King finished his words, Mirage Water, the white-robed woman, looked directly at Jian Wushuang with her clear eyes. A strange light flashed in her eyes. A powerful soul power instantly covered Jian Wushuang. Brothers of the Heavenly Marquis. Joluo was shocked. When the three of them were fighting with the experts of the Blood Crow organization, the white-robed woman was extremely terrifying. At first glance, those rank 1 and 2 true saints had died instantly. Her terrifying methods were amazing. Now, the white-robed woman looked at Jian Wushuang and used the same method. However, Jian Wushuang still stood there calmly in the face of the white-robed woman's soul attack. His expression did not even change. Mirage Water, what happened? Mountain King looked at him in surprise. I have already used my soul attack, but this person, he blocked it forcefully and easily, Mirage Water said. Oh, Mountain King was surprised. Soul attack is good, but it's useless to me. Jian Wushuang was telling the truth. Since he had become an immortal saint, his soul had greatly increased. Although his soul strength was still at the rank 1 true saint, it was much stronger than that of a true saint of the same level. In addition, he also had the Pagoda of Delicacy. After becoming an immortal saint, his Pagoda of Delicacy had reached the 3rd level, which was extremely powerful. The white-robed woman's soul attack had been used on the Pagoda of Delicacy, but it could not shake it at all. Since the Pagoda of Delicacy could not be shaken, it naturally could not affect Jian Wushuang at all. It's good that you can resist the soul attack of Fantasy Water so easily, but it's a pity that you met us, the evil master. Kill him, Mountain King said. Haha, leave it to me. The evil master revealed an excited smile, and his figure flashed in an instant. His terrifying speed burst out, and a ghostly figure appeared in front of Jian Wushuang. A random purple light lit up. It was the cold purple spear. The spear was unbelievably fast. It pierced through the void and made a crisp sound of air explosion. It's too fast. Jiluo and the other false saints widened their eyes. Jian Wushuang was still standing in the same place. He did not move at all, as if he had given up resisting. He's dead. Seeing that the tip of the evil master's purple spear was less than a meter away from Jian Wushuang, and that Jian Wushuang had no reaction at all, Mountain King and Mirage Water sighed in their hearts. Even a rank 3 true saint could not dodge the evil master's spear at such a close distance. They did not think that Jian Wushuang could dodge it at all. Chi! The long spear tore through the air and directly pierced through Jian Wushuang's throat. No! Mountain King's pupils suddenly shrank. An afterimage? The evil master was also suddenly shocked. His long spear had clearly pierced through Jian Wushuang's throat, but he did not feel any material existence from the tip of the spear. Obviously, the Jian Wushuang in front of him was only an afterimage. Your speed is just SOSO. A cold voice suddenly came from the void next to the evil master. Jian Wushuang's figure appeared out of nowhere, and a blood-red long sword appeared in his hand. He had already raised the long sword. Oh no! The evil master's expression changed greatly. Humph! Mountain King snorted coldly and took a step forward. He also burst out with terrifying speed and stood in front of the evil master. Before Jian Wushuang's sword fell, Mountain King had already waved his right arm, carrying the earth-shaking divine power. He ferociously attacked Jian Wushuang like a meteorite. In the previous battle, Mountain King had punched a rank 3 true saint so hard that he vomited blood. However, seeing this punch, Jian Wushuang just smiled casually, and the star power in his body suddenly burst out. However, the long sword in his hand did not stop at all. Whoosh! The sword was slashed out in anger. Roar! A deep and angry roar suddenly came from the heaven and earth, and the sword light from the long sword turned into a complete and huge ancient exotic beast. This ancient exotic beast was extremely ferocious, and its evil energy soared to the sky. It rushed out with a shocking power. It was the peerless sword technique Xianxia. Bang! The Blood Mountain sword directly hacked at Mountain King's fist, and the terrifying power contained in the sword suddenly burst out. Crack! The sound of bones breaking suddenly rang out. Mountain King's eyes were wide open as he stared at Jian Wushuang in shock. In the next moment, his body was directly chopped down. What? Seeing this scene, Mirage Water and the evil master also looked incredulous. Among the three of them, Mountain King was the best at killing power. Mountain King's fist was extremely powerful, and few rank 3 true saints could match him. But now, he was facing a mysterious expert who was also a rank 1 true saint. How could he break Mountain King's bones with a single strike? How could he fall to the ground? Starsea Realm. The white-robed woman, Mirage Water, suddenly let out a low shout. Her eyes were shining with a strong green light. The green light was like a demonic light, shooting toward Jian Wushuang and making eye contact with him. Buzz, buzz, buzz. The world around Jian Wushuang immediately began to change. He was originally in a vast void, but in the blink of an eye, he had arrived in a pitch-black boundless sea of stars. Jiluo and the others around him had also disappeared. Illusion. A mere illusion can't affect me. Jian Wushuang smiled indifferently, and then his eyes turned cold. Break! Boom! The shout was like a heavenly punishment, and the starry sea world shook violently and then collapsed. It's broken. How could it break my most powerful move so easily? Mirage Water was shocked. I don't believe it. Jian Wushuang looked to the side and saw that the evil master's aura suddenly increased, and his speed increased by another level. The purple spear in his hand also became more demonic. Whoosh! 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 The purple spear was like a purple lightning snake, stabbing toward Jian Wushuang at an extremely tricky angle. It was so fast that an ordinary rank 3 true saint could only defend in a sorry state. They could not even defend for long. In the previous battle, it was this evil master who had used his extremely fast spear technique to kill a rank 3 true saint first. But now he met Jian Wushuang. Is it a competition of speed? Jian Wushuang smiled faintly, but the Blood Mountain sword in his hand became illusory. He still stood in the void, but without any warning, he brandished the long sword in his hand. Hua! 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 Jian Wushuang brandished the sword 9 times in a row, and also displayed a total of 9 sword moves. However, even though he had executed 9 sword moves in one go, it felt as if he had only executed 1 sword move. It was the 9th heaven of illusionary sword in the Peerless Sword Manual. The 9 sword shadows were all extremely hazy. When they overlapped and gathered together, the moment they were brandished, the evil master's body trembled violently. This sword move, the evil master stared at the 9 sword lights that overlapped and seemed to be executed at the same time. It was too fast. These 9 sword lights were simply too fast. It was even faster than the spear technique that he had unleashed with all his might, and much faster. Boom! In his shock, the evil master also unleashed his full power, using the fastest speed that he had ever used in his life to execute his spear technique. But in the end, clang, 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 clang. The evil master only had time to block 6 strikes, but the 7th strike had brushed past the body of his long spear, slashing directly onto his divine body. He was similarly unable to block the 8th and 9th strikes. Chi! The evil master's entire head was cut off, and his divine body directly collapsed. Crash! A large amount of divine power began to gather crazily, and in just a moment, the evil master's divine body reassembled again. However, after the divine body reassembled, the evil master looked at Jian Wushuang with a trace of fear and did not attack again. Whoosh! Whoosh! Mountain King and Mirage Water also appeared behind the evil master, looking at Jian Wushuang with a trace of fear in their eyes. At this time, Jian Wushuang slowly reached out his hand, and a jade bottle appeared in his hand. As Jian Wushuang opened the jade bottle, a foul smell spread out. There was some dark brown liquid in the jade bottle. Jian Wushuang sprinkled the dark brown liquid on the Blood Mountain sword, and it was quickly absorbed by the Blood Mountain sword. This scene made Mountain King, the evil master, and Mirage Water tremble in fear. It's the poison of the evil god. In the treasure pavilion of the Heaven-Cleaving Alliance, only 2 million sacred elixirs can be exchanged for 1 drop. Although it's not as good as the poison of the Devil Star, 1 drop is enough to kill an ordinary rank 3 true saint. As the evil master said this, his body and mind went cold. After all, his divine body had just been destroyed by Jian Wushuang. However, if Jian Wushuang had just smeared the evil god venom on his longsword, he would have died instantly, as a rank 1 true saint with his divine power could not resist the corrosion of the evil god venom. Silence. The whole world was silent. Mountain King, Mirage Water, and the evil master stood side by side, staring at Jian Wushuang with their eyes wide open. They saw Jian Wushuang merge the evil god venom into his longsword. They knew that Jian Wushuang had the strength to kill them. Juluo and the false saints were also stunned. Sir, we are from the Heaven-Cleaving 3 Palaces, Mountain King said immediately. The Heaven-Cleaving 3 Palaces again? Jian Wushuang raised his eyebrows. Since he came from the Endless Territory, he had met several geniuses from the Heaven-Cleaving 3 Palaces. Jian Wushuang had long known that the 3 people in front of him must be from a powerful force with an extraordinary background. He did not expect them to be from the Heaven-Cleaving 3 Palaces. The Heaven-Cleaving 3 Palaces are divided into the Heaven and Earth Palace, the Primitive Palace, and the Chaos Palace. Which palace are you from? Jian Wushuang asked. The Primitive Palace. The 3 of us are from the Primitive Palace, Mountain King said directly. Jian Wushuang nodded slightly and was not surprised. These 3 people were obviously much stronger than Shuiyu, Long Yun, and Chen Chen, whom he had met before. However, they were not ridiculously strong. They should not be the super geniuses of the Chaos Palace. The geniuses of the primitive palace suited their identities. I've long heard that there are many monsters in the heaven-cleaving three palaces. The geniuses of the primitive palace are the best among the monsters. I've witnessed it today. Jian Wushuang smiled slightly, but he had already put away the Blood Mountain sword. You three didn't kill us directly just now, so I'll let you live. After saying that, Jian Wushuang looked at Jiuluo and said, Jiuluo, let's go. Jian Wushuang turned around and left. Jiuluo and the other false saints had also recovered from their shock. They looked at the three of them in amazement and then left with Jian Wushuang. The three of them stood in the same place without any intention of stopping him. As for wiping out part of their memories, it was naturally impossible. Soon, Jian Wushuang and the others had disappeared from Mountain King and the other two. Mountain King and the other two were still standing there. They looked very excited and could not calm down for a long time. After a while, the evil master was the first to speak. Mirage Water, you are good at the soul and have the best sensing ability. Did the man just now disguise his divine power aura? Or is he really a rank 1 true saint? Mountain King immediately looked at Mirage Water. But Mirage Water shook her head slightly. I didn't sense any signs of him hiding his aura. At least from what I see, he is indeed just a first-level true saint. If even you can't tell, then this person is most likely a first-level true saint. But they are both first-level true saints. How can he be so strong? The evil master said in shock. Mountain King and Mirage Water were also shocked. Yes, too strong. The three of us are all from the heaven-cleaving three palaces, and we're all top geniuses of the primitive palace. Even in the vast divine beginning realm, our talent is definitely the best, and the most terrifying. Even if we encounter the monsters of the Chaos Palace. In this era, there are only 2 monsters of the Chaos Palace who are still at the first-level true saint. I fought with one of them before. Although that person's strength is terrifying and is much stronger than mine, I feel that if we work together with the evil master, we should be able to fight. If we add Mirage Water, the three of us working together can even completely suppress that genius of the Chaos Palace. But today, the three of us met a cultivator who was also only at the first-level true saint realm. The three of us combined our full strength, and in the end, we were completely defeated. Mountain King muttered. Mirage Water's expression was solemn. His soul is extremely tough, and his soul defense ability is also extremely strong. The soul attack that I used with all my strength did not have the slightest effect on him. Even when I used my strongest ultimate move, the Starry Sea Realm, he was able to break it in an instant. His willpower is terrifyingly strong. His strength is also ridiculously strong. When he fought you head-on, he smashed you to the ground with one sword strike. His speed is even faster than before. As expected, his comprehension of the space-time principles has reached the 3rd stage, and his sword arts are even more tyrannical. In just one exchange, that sword arts completely crushed the evil master, and even crushed the evil master's divine body on the spot. His speed, strength, and soul are all incredible, and I don't feel any weakness in his body. I even felt that he was holding back when he fought with us. In other words, he didn't use his full strength. This man is too terrifying. Terrifying. That was what Mirage Water thought of Jian Wushuang. Mountain King and the evil master thought the same. If a genius of the Chaos Palace is a monster in the divine beginning world, then that man should be a monster among monsters. Even the monsters in the Chaos Palace are inferior to him, Mountain King said. From the direction he's flying and the team he's with, he should have rushed over from the Endless Territories. He's currently forming a team to pass through the Whitebone region. Such an inconceivable monster actually appeared in the Endless Territories? Who exactly is he? The evil master was curious. No matter who he is, since we've met him today, then we can't pretend that we didn't see him. We must immediately report this matter to the higher-ups, said Mountain King. Yes, the Heaven-Cleaving Alliance has a rule. It's a great reward to introduce some top geniuses to the 3 palaces. As for the man just now, he's an incredible monster. Once he joins the three palaces, the three of us will get a lot of benefits. By the way, we forgot to ask his name, said the evil master. Although they had just fought with Jian Wushuang, they had not asked his name. I heard the true saint in their team call him Brother Heavenly Marquis. He should be called Heavenly Marquis, right? Mirage Water asked. I think so. Mountain King nodded. It's impossible for a monster like him to be completely traceless. As long as we report his name, it should be easy for the Heaven-Cleaving Alliance to find out his background. Let's leave this place quickly. Soon, the three geniuses left. The three of them had come to the Bone region to carry out a special mission of the primitive palace. It had nothing to do with Jian Wushuang. It was because Jian Wushuang happened to see them when they attacked the stronghold of the Blood Crow organization. In order not to leak the news, they fought with Jian Wushuang. However, they did not expect that such a freak would appear in this fight.